This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including the Soat Piona of Hyperion, Serenity Firefly of Cactuar, and Pesca Soul of Ultros. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/limitbreakradio. And by Alamo City Comic-Con, October 28th through the 30th at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in sunny San Antonio, Texas. Alamo City Comic-Con celebrates the artists that entertain us through TV, movies, comics, gaming, and cosplay. For more information, including badge prices, celebrity guests, hotel accommodations, and more, visit AlamoCityComicCon.com.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break. With your hosts, Unhero.
You don't want to go to war with me.
Juxtaposition.
You gotta calm down or I'm gonna have to frag you.
Ascalia.
We are dealing with someone here who has absolutely no life.
And Mika.
And I am a gorgeous girl with big cans.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode number 80.
Woo!
And yes, this time, I swear to you guys, we are live from Eorzea.
Oh, we're not from Norg?
No, we're not from Norg. Although you wouldn't know it with that iCam shot. Wow, what was that? A bad opening shot. Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining us live here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. We're excited to have you along today. We've got a lot of emails to read. Boy.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, have we gotten inundated with emails.
You
apparently,
do one show on FF11.
Apparently failing podcasts get inundated with emails every week. So we've got a lot of emails to read from you. We're also going to be talking about some interview statements that Yoshi P has made. We're going to break those down.
Statements is a generous word.
Yeah. Okay.
No, they were definitely statements.
There's stuff in there.
By definition, they're statements.
We should definitely talk about. And also, we're going to be... we've got another 14 list for Final Fantasy XIV today.
This is a bit we haven't done since, like, episode 10.
It's been a while. The last time we did a list was the 14 worst players in Final Fantasy XIV. And then this week, we're going to be doing totally unconfirmed features, totally not coming to FF14.
I want to give...
Really?
I want to give huge props to our research team who went and found, like, the deep, dark emails way down in the depths of Google and the deep, dark interviews that just spawned these. These are amazing.
Yeah, nobody... these are features and statements that... people have apparently forgotten about, and we'd like to remind you of them, and they're totally not coming to FF14. So you can look forward to that. That's coming up here today on Limit Break Radio. We also invite your calls. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord if you want to call in and sound off on anything. If you didn't get in on the FF11 discussion and want to reminisce about FF11, we're here to talk about that. We can also talk about the upcoming Fan Fest. We had originally for today, we had planned out that today was going to be a Fan Fest retrospective, and we were going to do a look back at Fan Fests in years past, and just get really, really hyped up for Fan Fest, because it's coming in it's just a month away.
We are a month away.
32 days.
Yeah, it's I'm getting pretty excited, and we definitely are going to want to look back at some of the other exciting announcements that FanFest has had in the past.
My penis is erect.
But the thing is that we wanted to have that discussion with all of the folks who have been to FanFest, and we are, of course, minus Akalo today.
Oh, so
what a shock!
He's gonna guest host that episode for us.
I know, right? He's been absent more than he's been here, but we do want to have him along for that discussion because he was present for the 2008 Fan Fest. Nika's going to be gone next week. She's we're lucky to have her here today, so we're probably going to have that in another 2 weeks. So
we have a little time.
We've got a little bit of time before we hype up for Fan Fest.
Everyone can marinate on that. Oh, that'll actually be great. Think about when that episode hits, we will be 2 weeks away from Fan Fest.
I know.
We are going to be reaching the climax of excitement.
Yeah.
Justin knows all about the climax.
Oh,
I'm coming. I don't have that drop ready.
Oh, you did.
Okay.
I mean, I can go find it right now.
Well, you do have to. This isn't the 11 parody show. You don't have to. There you go.
I'm coming!
I was all the way on page 32, okay? This is on page 14.
And you're giving me more drops.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've had drops ready. Okay, spoiler alert.
I know.
There's like 60 drops on here, and spoiler alert, one of these drops is from our very own number 6 that he does not know about.
Whoa.
That can't be good.
Now, Ascali is thinking, what did I say?
Yeah, I'm literally trailing through everything I've said in the past 6 months, like, oh, God.
What could it possibly be?
Yeah, this won't end well.
No, it never does. It never does. No, not for you. When does anything ever end well for you?
Nothing
on this show? Very seldomly.
Ascali is not good.
No, he is not. All right. Anyway, so it's. We'd like to invite you to join us in the LBR studio. That's, of course, on the Sergeant Tannis server.
There's plenty of room.
There is plenty of room.
You'll be able to find a seat, I promise.
We are in the Goblet, 5th Ward, plot number 30. You can hang out in the LBR studios. We are, of course, downstairs. We also want to remind you that our podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, and on Stitcher, and any other platform that podcasts are available on. You can find us. You can look us up by just searching either Limit Break Radio or the LBR Podcast Network if you're interested in hearing our other show, which is Final Encountercast, which is also coming up later today over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. We hope that you'll join us over there for that. We also want to remind you that there is a LBR Reddit. That's our Limit Break Radio. So please go contribute to the subreddit. We check it out every once in a while. Or actually, if we have time, we may read something from the subreddit today. Some
people have said it's the best subreddit.
I think it is.
I'm not sure who they are, but they said it.
Yeah,
it was cool. A Nero.
Someone said
just
it.
now.
Yeah, right. But we also have. I had an email exchange with the people who print our T-shirts. They said that the T-shirts are currently being delivered. So once they get here, they'll be sent back out to you guys. We want to make sure that you get them in time for FanFest. And if you want Patreon exclusive T-shirts, you better get those quick if you want them for FanFest, because this is getting really down to the wire.
Down to the wire.
Patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. We also want to thank all of our patrons, all 187 of them, currently supporting us at $1,890 a month. Remember, guys, that number has got to be over 2,000 to keep Final Encountercast each and every single week. We've been talking a bunch about this new project that we've been working on, as well as the way that project is funded. But I want to remind you guys that is for that project only. That doesn't extend to Final Encountercast. It doesn't extend to Limit Break Radio. Although, at a point, if it makes enough income, we may say, we don't need to do patron for Limit Break Radio or Final Encountercast anymore. We can float that on our own.
Wouldn't that be incredible to say,
I think
now the Patreon goals no longer reflect FEC and LBR?
Exactly.
It's completely other things.
Exactly. Right. So, but until that point, and believe me, we've got a long road to hoe to be able to get to that point. All right. So
a lot of hoes to road.
We've got a very long journey to be able to get there. So until that point, we are still listener supported by Patreon over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. We would appreciate it if you go check it out. But we're also supported by Alamo City Comic Con. Again, that is October 28th through the 30th at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in San Antonio, Texas. Some of the recently announced guests, we said this last time, but it's worth saying again. Mina Suvari, the eternally hot Mina Suvari, is going to be out there. That's, of course...
That's the name she prefers to go by,
yes,
too.
the star of American Beauty and American Pie films, as well as the voice actress for Aerith in Kingdom Hearts and Advent Children. Also recently announced Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock in Daredevil in Marvel's Daredevil TV series. So that's pretty exciting. Also, David Arquette is going to be out there, known for his roles in Scream, also the former WCW champion.
I was going to say former world heavyweight champion, David Arquette.
Right. That is right.
Yes.
The one and the only.
Yeah, that's right. You may know him from Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Never Been Kissed, but I know him as the very sad WCW champion.
How about Ready to Rumble? Best movie ever made.
That was entirely to promote that movie, right?
I believe so,
yeah,
yes.
I'm pretty sure.
No, wait. I think it was the other way around. I think after that movie, they thought well, what if we brought him into into WCW and made him champion?
God. Oh no.
Yeah, I think it went that way, if I recall.
Okay, all right, that's enough wrestling talk. Let's find out what's going on in FF14 news.
This is a Limit Breaking News Update.
Well, this week we got some content previews of 3.4's main scenario. Not much there that
slash air quotes
we can really share. There are a couple of cool screenshots. Looks like we've got an Ascian geared out for battle, or what is this guy with the mask? Maybe that's not an Ascian. I don't know who this guy with the mask is. But
the hood definitely makes me say Ascian.
Yeah, that made me think that at first, but
that's Ukulele. He just evolved.
I don't know.
That's Ezio.
That's actually
back in time.
That's not a bad guess if you put a mask on him. It's not.
I mean, doesn't that mask kind of look like, I don't know, maybe it wasn't.
Maybe that's an entirely new character.
When I think of when we had the soundtrack that was like Astral and Umbridore, was that an Ascian on the cover of that? For some reason, the mask just reminds me of
well, they've got
dark and light.
Well, they've got the kind of like light up face mask thing that
maybe
goes
it's
on.
Vega.
Vega.
Well, and the armor he's wearing and the fist pump makes me think that he's competing in some kind of tournament and he needs to hide who he is because we would recognize him.
I can't wait to do another tournament in our main scenario.
After 1,000 years of bloodshed and sorrow, the shade of Nidhogg, Rage Incarnate, fell at last to the Warriors of Light.
Spoilers.
So it was that the Dragon Song War drew to a close and the survivors, bloodied but unbowed, could begin to pick up the pieces. A new day dawns in Ishgard, and her champions may rest easy, if only for a moment, for every ending marks a new beginning. So, yeah, and also we do see, I think that's Alizé who's wiped out on the couch, right? It's hard to tell which one is which.
Look at the ribbons!
He has the blue hairband.
Yeah, they have a different color ribbon.
She has red.
Okay.
That's the only way I can tell them.
All right. Well, then I'm pretty sure that is Alizé laid out on the couch there, so.
It's hard to tell because they're both girls.
According to Krill, anyway.
Thanks, Krill. We also got Dungeon Preview, a bit of a preview of Zephytol, as well as the Great Google Library. I read the last one. Who would like to do the honors on Zephytol?
Sure, I got it.
All right. Just talk all at the same time. Why don't you guys both do it at the same time? See if you can do that.
All right, Nico, we're going to do this in time. Ready?
I don't think so.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll do the next one. You do this.
All right.
Forced to flee the Black Shroud. It would have been fine if you didn't stop.
Actually, that was pretty good.
I know.
I can't trust that you guys would do it without juxtaposing though.
Forced to flee the Black Shroud for fear of the elementals and their boundless wrath, the Ixal settled the windswept mountains of Zelphatol more than 550 years ago. Since that day, they have labored tirelessly to eke out an existence in these harsh and unforgiving lands, slowly but surely expanding their dominion over the entire region. Yet the Ixal have never forgotten that which was once denied them, and so they seek divine intervention once more, to summon Garuda and beseech her strike down their enemies. In the shadow of the first mountain, the ritual nears completion, as a brave hero once more races against time to deliver the realm from destruction.
Oh, man.
Before final boss is Garuda XXX.
I think it would. I don't know, man. If it's Garuda again, I think I'm going to be bummed.
There's no way it's Garuda.
Yeah, I know.
They cannot have another fight with Garuda.
It can't be.
But their goal is to summon Garuda. It doesn't mean they're going to succeed. We're going to thwart them before they can do it.
That I would be okay with.
I would love to see like a half-summon Garuda freak of nature, like You know what I-
like they fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah,
Corrupted Garuda.
Yeah, like you could take the character model of the Rogadin from Void Ark and just throw a bunch of the texture models from.
That would totally work.
Do the Facebook mashup.
There you
do
go.
like a bunch of wind.
There you go. There you go. Nika has no idea what we're talking about. I think that joke is beyond her.
I don't.
No, she doesn't. Because you don't join Reset. You didn't join Reset Tuesdays enough. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I swear we made that joke on the show before.
Oh, we have. It's just we've never explained it to her, and she's never like bothered to stop us to ask. But the silence, I can tell. I can tell.
I didn't realize that it was actually a thing. I just let it go. Just go with it.
Yeah, no, that's a joke at your expense.
I want to see that we I want to see that we stop them from summoning Garuda, and then one of the Scions shows up like, why didn't you just let them summon it? You're pretty good at killing her. And then we're like, yeah, that was a waste. You're right. Why'd we rush?
Yeah, this is, I don't know.
Corrupted Garuda's stronger than real Garuda. What?
Just if they did that would be sweet. I don't think they will, but I don't know. Just the mere mention of Garuda again just makes me go ugh.
Why?
I don't know. Why are we doing this again? All right. So, Nika, why don't you tell us about the great Google library, Hard?
Sure, except for I'm very confused why the AK boogeyman monster is in this picture. God damn it. Okay. Though long since abandoned by its Charlayan keepers, the great Google library does not want for visitants. Its halls ever stirring with the voids and guardians who walk its corridors. With danger at every turn, the fool who dares trespass here would find not wisdom, but certain doom. Yet it was not long ago that an intrepid adventurer braved the deepest depths of this forbidding vault of knowledge, returning unscathed and wiser for the experience. A feat of daring that would be sung the realm over. Mayhap that is why an anonymous individual would beseech that self-same champion to return in search of long-forgotten knowledge. One can only hope this venture proves it another enlightening lesson.
That excites me because that leads me to believe more lore. Lots more lore.
Fucking boogeyman. I hate that boss in AK. I don't need it in my Google library. Get out.
Now he's a regular enemy.
Yeah, right. That's just going to be trash now because there's two of them. Anyway,
there was 2 in AK also. He splits in half.
Yeah, I know.
Doppelganger.
I know. Anyway, but there is that scene that we got with Urianger and the Ascian that took place in the Google library. They were there getting the oh god, I can't remember what the specific tome was, but there was that post-credit scene, and I think that may be the plot point that we're revisiting that sends us back there.
Oh,
that we may be going to look for that same book, that same tome,
the Germanic scriptures,
because he couldn't find it.
No, well, they were reading from it, so yeah. Yeah, that's what I think sends us back there. I'm not sure what else would send us back there. That's the only thing that I can think of that...
if it's not something like that, it's going to be something like straight up stupid. Like, hey, there's probably a sweet recipe for Maron's Glacé in there. You should go get it.
No, I have to guess that one's probably connected to MSQ.
We heard there's porn in there. Let's go.
Hey.
I mean, did they directly say that the next batch of dungeons wasn't going to be attached to MSQ? Because I could see that one...
They did not say that.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I could see that. All right. And we've also got this thing called the Orzaean aesthetic. I'm not really sure.
No, I am.
That's just so dumb.
am stoked about this. You have no idea. I'm going to spend hours fucking with this.
What is this?
Is this screenshot maker?
Yeah.
Yes, it's basically like taking the group pose, and there's different ways to manipulate it to get the best epic screenshots ever. Like they're adding like a vignette to the outside so you can like dim it. You're getting filters. You can add a light source to the background.
Hold up.
You can take someone in an emote and you can freeze them mid-emote to get like the best pose.
Is this real?
Yeah, this is Wallpaper Maker.
I'm so excited.
This is fucking Photoshop in Final Fantasy XIV.
I actually got...
This is kind of cool.
Dude, I'm into this. I'm sorry. This is so... No, for real. For real. Because, you know what? Fuck you. You don't make any of the banners. You don't make any of the art assets for this fucking website. You don't do shit for that.
Hey, I took a picture.
You took a screenshot once.
Once. 21 screenshots.
Once. Okay.
So you can have your very favoriteest pick.
Like, look at those ones at the bottom. They're like, look at some examples. Like the one with the sylph. It looks like a cutscene.
I'm kind of into it. I gotta say, it is, I think, going to be very helpful. Although, is it only for setting up screenshots? Can you only focus on your character? Because
I think you can do it for groups, too.
It says you use group post to do it.
Well, yeah.
It says at the bottom also you can also use it in idle cam.
Oh shit. That's actually legit.
I'm so excited for this.
Y'all are complaining.
All right.
None of us are complaining, Malky. This is awesome.
No, I'm in for this. This actually honestly, on a production level, this helps me a lot. So, way to go, Square Enix! Nice little quality of life update. I'm in for it.
And I'm going to spend more time messing with a screenshot maker than any of the content.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Like any woman would.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see how much you guys are using Lords of Aesthetic.
Dude, I'm a screenshot fiend, though. I have screenshots of like every cutscene almost like throughout the entire. Like, I have a million screenshots on my computer. This is going to be so awesome.
Says the king of glamour.
Yeah,
okay, well, you can't get glamour from this.
No, but that's how you show off your glamour.
Take epic screenshots.
Yeah.
I show off my glamour by being around in person, not by taking screenshots.
Yeah, but you're not really even around in person that much anymore.
Oh, I mean,
right. Yeah. Or how
whisper,
often?
whisper, mumble.
How often have you been on?
Yeah, once a week or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like during the show.
Well, just during the show.
Yeah.
That's sad. Anyway, all right. That's it for FF14 news. If you want to check out any of these, you can find links at our website, limitbreakradio.com. Also, you can find them all, of course, at the Lodestone. All right, so there have been some interesting articles, or not interviews that have come out with Yoshi P. One is actually kind of old. That's just sort of making the rounds now. It's back from a Gamescom back in August, and for some reason, I saw it pop up in multiple places this week, and it's one that I hadn't. Oh, whose phone was the boo? Party foul!
I'm sorry.
I am.
There we go. Let's just bring it all to a screeching halt. Anyway, so yeah, there was this interview that got passed around that I was only made aware of for the first time this week. But there was also this one from Reddit that was, let me see, who's this? It was translated. Let me bring up the actual thing here. It was translated by 11 Mile. Oh, that's an interesting name. All right, so shout out to 11 Mile. So the thing is that I've read through this a couple of times, and I have trouble making really heads or tails of exactly what is being said. I don't know if it's the translation, or if it's like if the translation is being too literal and the discussion is too conversational to really translate over very well. I don't know, and I don't know what this guy's handle on either one of the languages is, but I thought it'd be funny. Let's have Juxta go ahead and tell us about this interview.
You want me to read it word for word?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is from Mushu Chan.
Yeah.
Pronunciation is important.
Okay.
Chan.
Yeah. Right.
Rating prospects from now on. Will the format for a rating be the same as Alexander from there on? If so, how will the difference between normal mode and savage mode be there? Yoshida? In other words, a question of, quote, motivation,
Okay, so I feel
is this like straight from us?
I feel like this is aimed at us a little bit. I mean, I feel like we're the ones that talk about motivation a lot.
Oh, did we maybe bring that up every week?
Nobody else cares about motivation but us.
No, I'm not saying that, but I feel like
we bring it up every week.
We do. It really is a very strong theme of this show, and something that we've identified. I think it was a problem that we identified pretty early on. So let's see what Yoshida has to say about this question of motivation.
Motivation. For 4.0, we are confirmed to go with normal and savage format for the specifications as well.
Boo!
Well, let's see.
Since we have made it this far, and most players are saved by having the normal mode available to players for access, and thanks for normal mode that the amount of players who can access endgame contents like this are not being able to do so from during the Bahamut days, and those gauged on interest in savage content have increased. So we would like to remain this way. We also understand that this setup has contributed a lot to the community.
Now, you all may be thinking, Juxta read that like a pleb, and that's why we can't understand it.
No,
Juxta read that very well.
Actually, I'm
It was
shocked.
translated like that.
I'm shocked by how well he read that.
It's because I'm a great person.
But it sounds like shit because everything else that he reads comes out like a stumblebum. So
yeah, 2 negatives make a positive.
For some reason,
you stupid idiot.
We kind of
you just throw the poor translation at him and he can read that no problem.
It's kind of like someone who's had a stroke.
What kind of idiot savant are you?
Is this easy mode?
Give me something hard to read, bro.
It's kind of like he's had a stroke. We put it through the translator, and now it's like this encrypted message, but he reads that like normal.
Ugh,
idiot.
It's actually pretty amazing. All right, so let's try to dissect what exactly he's saying here, okay? Again, we're dealing with a limited translation, but this is what we have. No one in our stable of folks really knows translation skills, so
we don't speak Japanese,
right? Yeah. So, all right. I think what he's trying to say is that since they've made the adjustment to the story mode and savage mode structure, players have having normal mode available to access they're looking at that as like more engagement among the players. And my question is that, I mean, like, when he says that interest for Savage has increased,
he's probably comparing that to Gordius or to
and again, it's a limited translation, but yeah, we don't really know what that's comparative to. Okay. I feel like if you're comparing that to Binding Coil, that doesn't make sense. That maybe
unless they're comparing it to Savage Binding Coil.
That's what I think it is. I think he's comparing that to Savage Binding Coil.
Nobody wanted to do Savage Binding Coil, and now that we have normal and
that's how I read this.
No, you don't. Really? Are you shitting me?
Either that or they're comparing it to Gordius, which doesn't really matter because normal was also out in Gordius, and the difference between motivation now is that Midas is just better.
Yeah, so
I have no idea.
And thanks for normal mode. The amount of players who can access end contents like this from not being able to do so during the Bahamut days, and those who gauged interest in Savage content have since increased.
That's hard. That is hard.
I don't know. Maybe he's talking about regular normal Bahamut as I think about that.
But he's saying that people who access end content like normal mode. That's not. When is normal mode end content?
It's not.
No. End game content to them is content at level. What level are we at?
At level
60.
60? Are we at? No.
Yeah.
Are we?
Get out.
Do you play this game?
What game have you been playing?
I was going to say 110, but you know how that works.
Okay, then
that's not even right for eye level.
Forget it. We'll talk about that in a later episode.
He's making a WoW joke.
WoW jokes. Thank you very much, bro.
Good job. Nice job.
Do you want me to explain all the jokes for you, Nika Casual? S Nika Casual.
I actually got the joke. I was fixing it for you.
I know. I was just ruining Ascali there.
He's just dumping on me.
But I don't really understand what I think that if you're going to make that statement, you have to say definitively what that is comparative to, right?
I feel like he probably did, but we can't figure out what he's comparing it to.
Though?
I don't know. I don't know that he did. I mean,
this is close.
No, you know what this is? He's considering all of Alexander to be like, this is Alexander right here in this ball, and then this is Bahamut Binding Coil in this ball, and the one in Alexander is bigger than Bahamut because of normal mode. That's what he's saying.
He's saying more people are doing Alexander than did Binding Coil.
That's what I thought too, until he says most people are interested in Savage content.
Yeah,
which
that's
to me differentiates it from Alexander altogether. The Alexander altogether ball is where he just says, thanks for normal mode, the amount of players who can access endgame content like this can now do so when they couldn't in Bahamut. To me, that's saying all of Alexander. But then when he says those gauged interest in Savage content have increased, that is specific to Savage.
I don't know. Any way we're cutting this, none of this really seems all that great. I don't know. None of it seems all that encouraging.
It's a FanFest question.
Yeah,
okay, no, how about this? Yeah, there you go. So the Savage mode from Bahamut is a lot smaller than the Savage mode from Alexander. because there's only the one Savage mode. This makes sense. He's comparing apples to moldy apples.
No.
Apples are a lot better than moldy ones, I'll tell you what.
All right, let's move on. Let's keep going here.
All right, and then comes the differentiation between normal and savage. Mosu-chan. For Gortys, the bosses from floor 1 through 4 saw no changes, and therefore, visual-wise, there were no fresh changes. But for Midas floor 4, bosses saw an additional wings and added a little motivation.
Only 8 saw that.
And these changes are a welcome addition, so it'd be nice if we could have them.
He said Midas floor 4.
Yeah, Midas floor 4.
Correct. Did I say Midas?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But like,
he's right.
he's the bosses saw additional wings. I feel like he's complaining that the bosses are boring and that the only one that changes is the last one. I don't know.
Like, literally, does that mean, like, visually there's wings?
No, he does. Like, in AA, when you kill him, he, like, regenerates with, like, stronger health and big flying wings, and he flies around like cray-cray.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a little addition, a little difference between the two.
And Moshu-chan's like, hey, that was really great. Make all the bosses different from the normal bosses.
Yeah. Which
is think about that
fair.
disconnect. Hey,
But
have this normal mode, but then make Savage mode completely different from normal mode. So, you know what? Just make 2 different raids.
Well, no. I mean, I think that is a small... A very small change that you can add, because what is the difference between, even visually, between doing the 2 fights? Like in a lot of instances, some of the move sets are even the same. Like you don't even get, like you'll get different patterns and different different tuning of the moves, but having an additional graphic, a little like bonus thing. I get what he's saying, that it's cool and that it might provide, like that's very little development that you have to put on. Like that's just one asset that you add.
Well, A7 got an extra rolly ball. That counts.
It's not an additional asset. That's wait, does the ball look different? Is it flaming?
Nope.
Control C, Control V. That's it. That's it.
One player is really good at that.
But I think that's kind of a good point. But all right, let's see what Yoshida has to say.
Yoshida says, we thought of wanting to do this for Alexander Creator, Tendo Hen, quote, Celestial Chapter, as well, but since we have made this to be just a conclusion to the Alexander chapter, we did not get that involved in those changes.
Serious?
Although for that portion, we're still putting in some adjustments, as in making it as flashy as it can be. Although there will be some slight changes between normal and savage in terms of something that was mentioned by Moshu-chan above. People who went through Savage should know this by now, but the real battle starts when, quote, entering a certain phase, and that is what I meant by that.
So, I don't know, maybe an additional graphic in, when a phase change happens? I don't know. Like, even a little bit of that, I think, does help.
He just flat out says, we thought about making Alexander Creator cool, and then decided because at the end of Alexander, we're not going to make it so cool.
Kind of, yeah. All right,
not getting that involved. Okay.
All right, let's this next statement.
During Bahamut era, we have been told that a lot of players, as well as our coworkers, that we have spent far too much cost making a content that only certain people will go through, and that we should not invest our cost further on this one.
Well, Laws of Verminion kind of sounds like Bahamut, right?
Hang on. Let's finish the...
Rather, we don't have much staffs for this. Also, we could have done something if we can have about 2 skilled developers introduced to us, but then it's not like we did not think it through without them as well. We thought of making floor 1 through 2 be normal mode, while 3 and 4 be savage mode, and so on. Normal would be the normal usual story, and savage would be the what if story, and so on.
Hold on. Okay, so during the Bahamut era, we have been told a lot from players as well as our coworkers that we spent far too much cost making content that only a certain amount of people would go through. That has got to be the single most frustrating statement.
It does,
from
and they said that we
fucking MMO developer ever
should not invest our cost further on this. But then nobody's gonna do it ever.
Exactly.
Does that actually sound like something that comes from a player, though? As fun as Coil was, that sounds like something coming from above.
That sounds like two things. That sounds like, you know what? That does sound like it comes from a game designer.
Okay, well, hold on.
Saying, hey, I did all of this work and only 10% of the community is going through and even looking at this wonderful zone work that I did.
So they're saying, fuck you, endgamers. Our game is going to be 100% casual.
That's pretty much what that says.
Okay, I'm going to take a different direction on this. Remember that the cutscene at the third portion of Bahamut, right before you fight Bahamut, that cutscene with Louis Soir,
was the best cutscene ever.
And that apparently cost more than the rest of Coil combined.
Okay, all right.
So that could be where they're coming from with that.
Maybe, but that...
But the thing is that everyone cites that cutscene as being what they want from Alexander.
Exactly. And I think that cutscene drove a lot of people. That drove a lot of people to work at Coil.
It drove a lot of people to demand story mode.
Well, I mean
that's true too, because people could witness that. That's where it came.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and I think that definitely sounds like it comes from a design. Like, we did all of this work on this cutscene and in these environments and on these battles, and only 10% of the player base is even challenging them. Okay, well, now you do story mode, and now you get 100% of the 80% of the player base. 100% of everyone who's at 60 that goes through the story mode now.
100% of people who try.
They all get to see the story. They all get to see the environments. They all get to see some version of the fight.
Okay, so make it really epic now. Anyway, because what bothers me about this is if he claims that that's why we have normal mode, that's why we put the story in normal mode so that 100% of the players can see it. But there's like minimal amount of story in Alexander, so... I don't get it. Now that 100 or at least 90% of your players are seeing this story, why is it still so suckish?
I agree, and that's that's exactly where I was building towards. Was that okay? Well, now that you have story mode, we're getting a story that's barely even worth doing, and I think that kind of also undercuts the story mode. Binding Coil was way better designed and implemented from both a community standpoint, from a game, a player sentiment standpoint, and from promoting and having an endgame environment standpoint, right? Like, walking back on this, sure, now everybody gets to see all of the hard work that your dev team is doing, but you're the amount of people that are challenging what is considered endgame content, and I hate the fact that they could even try to consider Savage Coil as their savage to savage comparison, because they need to compare Binding Coil to Savage Alexander.
Yes.
And I guarantee you that the amount of players that are challenging and clearing that content is way down. Way
sure.
down.
Absolutely.
Way down.
I mean, we even seen the numbers for that. It was down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been objectively down. But the thing is that they've been undercutting themselves the entire time. And I don't think that they realize that. I mean, if we're still getting interviews that have statements like this in them, I don't think that Yoshi P even realizes what the problem is.
I like this idea near the end of it. They talked about where we thought of making floor 1 to 2 be the normal mode, and then so that's the story, that's the canon story, and then 3 and 4 are kind of like this what if retelling of it. That could have been something different, interesting. Like, at least that's an incentive.
Well, if they did that between normal and Savage and made Savage have a different take on the story, I think that would provide a different incentive. I think that would be a fun thing to do.
It could be, and then also people that aren't doing the Savage ones might be like, well, it's not the canon story, so it's not that important anyway.
Right.
So they might not be as upset about not seeing it.
Right.
Maybe.
But I hate the idea of doing floor 1 to 2 normal mode, 3 and 4 Savage mode, because that cuts your content in half. Yeah. You're cutting your content in half. So
no, you have to release 8 floors every time, 4 normal ones and 4 Savage ones.
So have that staggered by updates. Have that be, like we're getting raids every other update. Have one, have 3.1 be a normal mode update, and then a 3.2 be your Savage mode update.
They can put in the normal mode updates when they put in the 24-man content.
There you go. I mean, look, Square Enix, we're even brainstorming ways that you can try to, like, cut corners on your development.
Yeah, but hold on. What credentials do we have? I mean, are we JP?
Oh,
We're not.
I don't
we're
think
not
we
game
are.
design.
No. So no.
What I don't understand is they condition everybody to do shit so easily, and then they complain that nobody does the hard content. They don't have any middle ground to build upon the game.
I mean, I thought their goal was to make people want to do the hard content, but now they're like this flat out said that we consider all of Alexander to be end game content, that bothers me.
As it should, Nika, as it should.
I'm bothered by them saying that they're understaffed.
Yeah, we knew that,
how
though.
the hell are you understaffed?
We knew that they have a small development team.
No.
15.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That totally supports my theory that they've been pulling people off of 14 to try to fix this mess that is Final Fantasy 15.
So, do you think come November 15 is released, do you think Square Enix is going to be gracious enough to give 14 their development people back?
No.
Have you ever known a development staff to get bigger on an aging project? I've never heard that. I've never
World of Warcraft.
Well, okay. Someone who doesn't buck every trend ever. Fair enough. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
They probably take the Kaizen management, which was they just start it big and then they just work it down.
Yeah. Well, that's
little by little.
That's exactly what we saw happen with FF11.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that bothers me because 14 is making them quite a bit of money every single month. Why wouldn't they want to put people back on it so that it could make them like more money? Like if they present, hey, we know our player base wants this epic story, but we don't have the staff to do all this development. Can you give us 2 to 5 more people and we can make you 3 times as much money? Why wouldn't they say okay?
Because they're gonna go free to play in 6 months anyway.
Oh, I doubt that. I doubt
That's
that.
a big announcement at FanFest.
Oh God!
Right at the end.
I'm telling you, if 11 is not free to play, 14 will not ever be free to play.
They're both going free to play at the same time.
Lose my mind.
No, I mean, what happens if that's the big announcement?
Don't tear my heart out right now.
I don't stop laughing until I get home.
Do we riot?
I laugh the whole plane ride home.
Boo that fucker right off the stage.
Subscription fee or a riot.
I laugh as my plane goes down due to turbulence.
I mean, remember the big cheer line? The big cheer line 2 years ago was no pay to win. No pay to win. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm worried. I'm concerned. All right, we've still got a couple of paragraphs left on this. So
we thought that a lot, but then who would do?
Okay, go.
Talking about the floor 1 and 2 normal mode, floor 3 and 4 savage mode.
Right. Yes.
Okay, we thought of that a lot, but then who would do so? You see, on the other hand, by putting some lever, as in a pseudo incentive in this context, into the rewards, it would create this, quote, we have to do this kind of obsessional and forced incentive onto players. So we did not go with it.
Why?
Because we don't want to incentivize anything.
But, oh my God.
Because they don't want players to feel forced to do content, in a game.
Hold on, let me finish the paragraph. And we made it easy, and we made it a child's play. It will just take away the interesting part of the content, so we can't do that as well.
Okay, so this paragraph is kind of him seeing it's like stating like both sides of the argument.
Right.
Okay. All right, I get that.
But the thing is I think that there has to be an element of that obsessional, like you want to drive that. Like that's sort of the emotion that you want to hit in your player base if you're an MMO, especially an MMO that's operating off of a subscription model. I mean, we went over this big time on Final Encountercast last week, but subscription models are going away. I mean, like, there's 5.
They're gone.
There's 5 left. It's Final Fantasy XI, there's Final Fantasy XIV, Dark Age of Camelot, Ultima Online, and World of Warcraft. And arguably, World of Warcraft may fall into either category, depending on how much you play. So, I just don't, for a subscription game, a subscription model based MMO, to say, like, we
don't want that obsessive incentive.
You need
what, are you
that.
insane?
You need that.
What are you making your player? Like, how are you keeping your players engaged.
He's trying to make the we want stuff before, not clamoring for something similar to normal mode again. Like, we feel like we have to do this because we're missing so much of the game, but we don't want to.
Fine, fuck you. Shut up. That's the thing. Here's the thing. Square Enix, I'm going to tell you exactly how to deal with those people. Don't respond to them. Don't ever just stop listening to it. Stop listening to it. You can recognize a bad idea on its face, I think, still. Hopefully. I think the problem is that some of these ideas get thrown around in the room, and then I don't know who's responsible for being such a bleeding heart on this dev team, but this shit needs to stop. This shit needs to stop. At some point, you need to go, no, if you don't put the effort in, if you don't put the work in, you don't get it. And if you don't get it, fuck you. Like, there doesn't need to be an answer for everyone to get it. There doesn't need to be an answer for everyone to, like, you set the goals, Yoshi P. You don't tailor the game to us, right? Like, we've got to build our lives around the game. I want more of a reason to log in. I want more of a reason to be engaged and compelled. I want to feel less compelled by other games.
Yeah, where's the obsessional incentive? Where's the reason for me to go like, I can't miss today. I got to get in today. I got to log on. Crap.
It's not Tomes. It's not Tomes.
It used to be, but not anymore, man.
Well, I mean, especially not in this patch right now. Next patch, it kind of will be again, following the cycle of the way that Tome Gear works, but it's getting to be a boring treadmill. Need to have something to break that up. If all I'm working at is Tome Gear and then upgrading that Tome Gear, bro, I'm so bored by that. I'm so bored by that. I just give me another way to do it, another way to look at it.
Hunts.
Not hunts.
Not hunts.
Shut up, Nico.
That's the one thing I'm taking off the table. You can't say hunts. Not that one.
No, I didn't even do hunts this time around when they added stuff to it. I'm just so bored of hunts too.
Honest to God, I would not be upset if they funneled us into things like Diadem or like Palace of the Dead to be able to get relevant or even better gear. Like, and again, this is what we've been saying for a long time, is that, if these events had a compelling reason to do them, I think more people would do them. It's not like they're terrible events. They're reasonably okay MMO events. And more people would grind them ad nauseum if they thought that they were going to get a reward out of them. Again, I mean, RNG gear, like low drop rate gear that comes out of the very end game battles. I mean, give your raiding scene a reason to stay engaged past getting the gear that they want. Like, once you get the gear that you want for your main job in raiding, I mean, I know that you've got an attachment to your raid group and you want to keep helping them out, but honestly, what reason is there to keep raiding after you've decked out your main class?
I mean, I also have a strong attachment to my secondary class, so I want a person who would keep going. But I think the motivation for me to keep going at that point is that because once you clear it, it becomes easy and you can do it all in one night. But then I need more reason to log in after Tuesday when I clear all the raid content to log in again. Like, my motivation isn't to keep raiding, it's to keep logging in once raiding becomes like a one night thing.
So, again, like, that, to me, that doesn't sound fun. What would be fun is if you got these crazy, high-powered pieces in a low RNG setting out of those. That would keep people there. I mean, no matter what, it would keep people there beyond checking out after they get all of their pieces. Nick, I'm sure you have seen that. I'm sure you've seen someone get all the gear that they want and then fuck off. Maybe not in maybe not in Alexander, but back in Coil.
I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to say specifically. I've seen it and heard it.
Well, no, I'm not asking you to name names.
No. I mean, in other people's groups, I've heard of it happening. But I feel like because 14 requires an 8-person static mentality, it's a little bit different than when you have like 30, 40 people going out of content. They get their riddle and peace out.
No. I mean, if you're one of these people who are at the bleeding edge and clearing through A8 in like the third week, what was it, second or third week that it was out that
Third?
That the world firsters had cleared through it, right? Like, give world firsters a reason to keep doing that. You know, like, if you're through that content that quickly and you've got it on lock that quickly, dude, I guarantee you that those players have been so checked out since, what was it, 3.2 was the last time we got raid content.
Yeah, but they told us in this patch that they don't care about those people that are like doing the minimal, the small part. Like, they said that, they don't even think that the all of Endgame is enough to make a good story, let alone the 0.5% world firsters. Like, if all of Endgame doesn't give them motivation enough, then the world firsters they're not going to care. No, but I'm not saying build your game around those people, but what I'm saying is you provide a small incentive, a low RNG drop item. Hell, it could be one item. It could be a ring. It could be a super awesome high-powered ring. It doesn't even need to be fucking body gear or anything like this. It doesn't need to have a ton of graphics thrown at it. But even you just throw one piece of gear that keeps that world firster going beyond what they would normally
do. I got
do.
my ring of sleep deprivation. It's going to be great.
And you know which MMO has taken this idea?
Don't say it. Don't say it.
We know. We're going to have the conversation soon. We're just avoiding it because it makes us sad.
It does make us sad. It makes me sad that I never wanted anything to do with this MMO.
No.
And now I keep saying, well, FF14 can learn a thing from it.
They really could.
It shall not be named.
But, I mean, that is a very easy way to keep those... and granted, yes, that is a very small portion of your population, but it is a key portion of your population that you want to keep happy, because those are the people that help the other 98% get better. They help them improve, but they got to get something out of it, right? Like, that's only fair. You can't expect someone who is a world firster to stay engaged beyond their goal. Like, once they get the gear that they want out of what they're doing, it's really like, you're really asking a lot of them as a player to go beyond that without properly giving them a reward. It doesn't have to be a high output, and the people who don't get it can go get fucked. That's the answer. That's really the answer, is that these people who complain about not getting stuff, of course they're going to complain. It's the fucking internet. Like, what do you expect? Of course people are going to complain that it's hard or that they can't get the thing that they want. And make it so that everyone wants it. Give me a reason to get fucking plugged back into this shit. It's frustrating, man. It really is frustrating because it's a very little thing. It's development-wise. You don't even need 2 competent programmers on that one. Am I wrong? Someone tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Okay, thank you, because everyone's sitting here looking at me like I'm the asshole.
Well, you are.
I'm nodding along. I agree. You are the asshole, though. That's correct.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Continuing on.
There's more.
There's so
Holy
much.
Shit.
We still got 2 more paragraphs, bro. To be frank, we're still working our way around this. Considering we would like to put care on the raiding culture in Japan that we have cultivated. For Alexander Creator in 3.4, we would like to see the content walkthrough for this and determine on which aspect we should adjust on, plus where to lower the difficulty, and think further on what to do for the next 4.0 rating content along with normal and savage difficulty. Since we still have some time before 4.0 rating content hits, so please let us study further on this. That's how much we have been working our way on.
So the ink is not dry at all on what rating is going to be in 4.0. They're still very much on the concept stage, it sounds like.
I'm pretty sure the canvas is going to be the same, which is 4 bosses in a circular room. I'm pretty sure we're not going to get around that portrait.
To be fair, A7 is a square room.
Do you think...
Square Enix went triangles.
Do you think that they would have to introduce a whole new rating type to be able to try to attempt something like a more engaging raid? I mean, I in a way, I do feel like Crystal Tower and Void Ark are
raids.
It's sort of their attempt at that. Right? Like, that's their attempt at making something a little bit more engaging. You have trash packs. But even then, a lot of those are tunnels, boss room. Tunnel, boss room. Tunnel, trash. And in those tunnels, you got trash packs. So what could they do to change that up? I mean, they've tried the dynamic environment with Deep Dungeon. And the concept,
which is still just a bunch of square rooms.
Yes, but I mean, there does seem to be like a working concept there that they could apply somewhere else, right? Like if you had a modular dungeon that changed every time you went in it, right? Like a lot of dungeons have multiple paths already built into their architecture. Now, what if that path was different every time you went in and you couldn't change it, right? Like it's changed it's determined by the system every time you go in. And you don't know which boss path you may necessarily get. And you've got to kind of adjust for that. I think that that's a way to make things a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more interesting and engaging. But I mean, there's no evidence that they're going to do anything like that. But is that what it would take for them to change up the raiding environment that they've worked themselves into between Binding Coil and Alexander? No one?
Well, I'm trying to think of like, because I definitely think that my biggest issue with rating in 14 is the fact that there's not much variety, not necessarily because I dislike what they have. I'm just getting bored of it. So like, I think that, the reason we all praise 11's rating is that because you had so many options. You could do Ground Kings or Sky or Sea or Limbus or Dynamic. There was so many things to choose from. And then they added Salvage and blah, blah, blah. So like, when you look at this, you have your 24-man raid and you have your endgame raid, and they're the exact same whatever. So I think they should keep these. Like, don't get rid of them. Do your Alexander Creator the same way you're planning to do. But I think that I do think a big part of it is probably that they're understaffed. They don't have enough people to say, okay, let's do Alexander and a new raid content and stick them in together. I just can't see them having the resources to do that, and that's what's sad.
Right. And you mentioned a level of modularity. I'd love to see something like in a dungeon where it's like, okay, there's two paths that you can go on after this boss is over, and how quickly you beat the boss determines which path you get sent on. You don't get to choose which path you go on. Something that happens in the boss fight determines which way you're going after the fight.
Yeah, I mean,
anything.
But then you can manipulate it.
Sure.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, anything that has any kind of aspect of unpredictability or I think that would be a little bit more engaging than what we have right now, which is literally tunnel, boss room, tunnel, boss room, and I think everyone's getting a little bit bored of that.
So what you're saying is remove some tunnels, maybe just make it one tunnel and then boss room.
Well, what does WoW do to create engaging raid environments?
They just make an actual environment.
So it's like a zone.
It's a lot like Weeping City, in that it's like an actual zone that you can go to. You can explore around a little bit. You can get a feel for the actual lore that's there, and not just little tomes that are on the ground that tell you what the lore is.
So do you think if they took, because I mean I feel like that's a little bit what Diadem was, right? Like Diadem was kind of like this zone that you go to, and it's kind of got its own, it's a little bit separated, but it wasn't really satisfying because it was a bunch of floating islands. It didn't really feel like a place, right? Like it didn't feel like a location. You weren't working towards something. You're just going there and killing dinosaurs.
Well, Weeping City, you still don't really explore. I feel like if Weeping City looked like it does now, but it's a little bit wider, and that you actually had to wander the outside area to find the boss, and he could be in a different spot every time and make it actually feel like a zone, and the boss isn't just waiting for you in a circle arena. He's actually wandering around.
Roaming boss.
Like, because I don't think we really need like that purple line lockout in an instance. Like, I honestly don't feel like if it's an instance and there's only those 24 people in there, like, let them wander around and find it and just fight it out in the world, even though it's not really out in the world, but it gives you that illusion that it is.
Oh, and Nika wants Abyssia in FF14, guys.
So, I mean, sort of.
No, well, but I think that actually you've hit on something where, the dungeon zones themselves have a very specific design to them, right down to Weeping City and Void Ark and Crystal Tower. It's all in one forward direction. You're not really put into a zone and then given this
told go.
Yeah, like that's exactly it. But in Diadem, you sort of are, except it doesn't translate.
No, exactly. Yeah.
For some reason, Diadem does not translate in the way in my head.
It had so much potential.
It really did.
And it's just. Ugh,
I feel like they need to revisit that idea, because I think if you had, there are some great zone designs that I think having a raid in a zone like that would be really fascinating. One of the ones that I think of, like right outside Ul'dah, going up to Camp Blackbrush. I mean, like, that's such a big, expansive zone. It's got a couple of different height levels on it. I mean, like, something like that I think would have translated into a way more interesting raid environment than Diadem would.
You know what I'm thinking as you're all talking about this is the final boss of Dynamis Bosadine, where you literally you pop the enemy and his 4 dragons, and your thief would grab the 4 dragons and run them all the way back to the beginning of the dungeon, effectively, and then you had to kill the boss before those 4 dragons made their way back to you. Otherwise, they were going to wipe your shit. Yeah. That's kind of a thing. It was something interesting and different.
It's not, it's not dissimilar from what Dynamis did, where it literally takes a zone that's in the game and makes it a raid zone. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, I feel like an area like that would be much more interesting. Diadem was not satisfying as an area to explore. It wasn't connected to the world. It very literally was not connected to the world. It was a series of floating islands with this thing in the center, and you're given no information about the thing. You're given no information about why you're there or what you're doing while you're there. Like, it's this nebulous thing that's never really properly explained, and you just go, you get your shit and you leave.
How cool would a raid in Ul'dah be? A raid that takes place in the city of Ul'dah.
Okay, now you're sounding like Dynamis Sandoria or something.
Well, but I mean, do you remember the closing 1.0 event where they had a ton of monsters spawn in places like Ul'dah? That was great.
Yeah, it was epic.
So cool. And I mean, like, you can double up a zone like that. You can make now
we're looking at El Zabi. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean...
All right, sorry.
I just want everyone to know that Nero just suggested that Square Enix does less work in terms of zone design and just copy and paste old world zones and then raid in it.
Is the desperation he's been driven to.
Well, isn't that in gameplay terms something that's a little bit more interesting than the tunnel boss room that we've got?
Definitely.
I mean, they're trying too hard to make sure they're not like 11 instead of taking what was good about 11 and making it better. And
I kind of agree with that. Yeah.
There's so much 11 did wrong, but there's so much it did right that in today's modern age, if you built on it, it could be fantastic. And you're like, nope, that was 11. We don't want to be 11. We're staying away from 11. Nope.
I even think you literally take the same, almost the same system that was in for Abyssia, and you apply it to FF14.
Diadem, it could have been that.
It could have been. It was almost. It was very close. It was like on the edge of being that. It could have. You're very right, Nika. It very could have been. But yeah, I don't know. I am interested to see what 4.0 holds. But if we're holding to the same pattern, man, I'm concerned.
That's exactly what Yoshi sounds like.
It does sound. That sounds sort of like what he's implying.
He's saying, well, it worked in 2.0 and it worked in 3.0. So let's just double down, man. Let's give you more.
The translation is weird though. It does kind of sound like he knows there's a problem. He just knows that what he has does work, so he's not sure how to change what works to make it work better. And so he's just kind of scared of change because what if it fucks up? But I thought he had said he was going to look into change and take risks. Didn't he say that?
He did say that, and I think that
Deep Dungeon is the answer to that.
Diadem and Deep Dungeon, yeah.
And Lords of Verminion.
Oh God, don't even say that. Don't even say that.
It was a risk, and they have to make sure they put every effort into making it good.
Oh my God. All right, so this next part about mannequins.
What? Oh my God, he literally is listening to like what I want.
Yeah,
he's listening to
Ascalia.
Let's see. This is from Hikari Blogger. Regarding the mannequin system, by putting a mannequin inside the house and decorate the mannequin using your own equipment, we would like to know what happened to this.
Yes!
Yoshida said, we've decided to shelve this for the moment.
What?
We decided that the specifications a long time ago, but due to the cost problems we have spent our development time on and the recent announced aquarium and apartment system, but it's in our task list and we'll get to that eventually.
So
Fuck
you
you,
get
Final Fantasy 15, give me my mannequins!
They're giving you fish instead.
They literally said, yeah, we didn't do that so we could work on aquariums instead.
You know what? I'd rather have aquariums.
Yeah, I think that's an okay.
I like that.
Yeah,
You guys are insane!
Fish are
Long
pretty
as
Mannequins
cool.
are amazing!
my fish, I'm good.
Just so you know, once aquariums come out, I'm just going to have the entire wall be aquariums.
And then we've talked about this. We've mentioned this in a couple of episodes ago when we were talking about features that were discussed but were never really implemented. But this idea of grand summoning.
Grand summoning. Let's see. Moshu Chan says, now that you've mentioned your postpone, so regarding the grand summoning system that you have been mentioning in the past, we would like to know what happened to this. Yoshida says, for the grand summoning system, we have actually decided that the specifications and how it works, it's just that we did not release it due to the timing.
Really?
Is it for 4.0 and beyond? Yoshu Chan asks. Yoshida replies, sorry, we are not even sure about this ourselves. We thought of making it a quote, ultimate gameplay, and we thought of making it a form of gameplay where one fighting over the right to, quote, grand summon. Moshu Chan, can we know what kind of content this is? Yoshida says, rather than the content, it'd be a reward. We plan to make the system have a specific person within a server within a specific time frame perform a summoning. For example, by summoning an end content which can be defeated easily, or when summoning, the weather changes, and so on.
Wait,
I like this idea.
I like it, but I'm kind of confused about what he's saying. He's just saying that someone gets it as a reward from what exactly?
Well, hang on. They go on to talk a little bit more about it.
Moshu-chan, you mentioned, quote, fight over. Is it meant to be a system for guild versus guild? And Yoshida replies, we don't plan to make it a fight between individuals, as in not for dueling. When doing a specific other contents, Ifrit pops, and when you defeat Ifrit, you gain the right on Ifrit summoning. That's the kind of system we thought of making.
So
wait. Like you're in the middle of a dungeon and Ifrit just randomly pops for you, or like you're doing Alexander and oh hey, Ifrit's here.
I think it's more like when you're doing hunts, Ifrit might pop during the hunt, and then you go kill Ifrit as well, and then you can summon him?
Because what I had understood this system to be was an you would have primals that pop in the same way that Odin pops, and it's a bit like a fate, right?
Right.
And see, this is what I the part that I don't understand, where you get like a guild versus guild system there, or someone gets the right to summon them. I don't know.
Maybe whoever does the most damage to. Because I wonder if it would be something where only your guild could claim it. Maybe
it's possible.
That could be like your like 24-man alliance claims.
Yep, and that when you kill it, your guild or maybe the leader gets the specific right to summon it. But now what I'm wondering is, what's the point of summoning it? Because we don't have overworld H&Ms. We don't have something that's so difficult to defeat that it would be so awesome to have this like instant kill because you had the right to summon Ifrit this day. Like, I mean, unless you could take it into like Alex 8 and have a one-time summon kill and then or something like that. Like, otherwise, what's the point?
I don't know.
I doubt we'll ever see it.
Yeah, it sounds like they shelved it rather permanently.
But I mean, he says we have the specifications of how it would work.
Yeah.
So I mean, they know it. So why not just do it?
But the next statement, they say, we don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Is it for 4.0 and beyond? And they say, we're not even sure of this ourselves.
We don't think, probably not.
I mean, we know what it's going to be, but I don't know if we actually want to do it or not. That's basically what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Way to deliver.
Woo.
You know what? I'm looking forward to Platoon.
Maybe this is why they so specifically say like what they're allowed to talk about in interviews.
Well, yeah.
Because this is what they get otherwise.
Yeah.
But I mean, he actually has dropped a lot more information than we normally get from an interview.
Well, this is a lot more than I thought we'd hear.
Again, this is a Japanese interview with Japanese media, and I think that they're far more candid when doing I mean, and the language barrier has a lot to do with that. That's not a judgment. That's just practicality. So yeah, it is interesting. I thought it was worth talking about some of these responses from Yoshi P, even if they weren't maybe translated perfectly. So again, shout out to what was that, 11 Mile that did that?
Yep, 11 Mile.
Thank you, 11 Mile.
No mannequins. What the?
Yeah, right.
You triggered?
A little,
yeah. But they said that it is on their list and they will do it. So that one I think you will see.
First Wyvern minions and now mannequins. Fuck you, Square Enix.
Please look forward to it.
All right, let's go over to our phone lines and talk to Shira Heartslot. What do we have? What?
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go to our phone lines and talk to Shira Heartslot. If you want to call the show, you can send a Skype message to Limit Break Radio 810-515-8715 or give a call on Discord, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. What's going on, Shira?
Not much. I just wanted to make my comments on the whole needing developer thing. So just kind of putting perspective as somebody does this type of thing for a living. I think it's not in so much that they're lacking developers, as I remember looking at the credits of the 2.5 storyline and going, holy crap, this team is freaking huge. And after watching some of the anniversary celebration of the live letter, they seem to actually have a rather large set of teams that they have on them. It's that they seem to be wanting to do more, but they don't have enough competent people to be able to do it. And one of the things that normally occurs in the video game industry or any form of software development is you hire somebody and they're gone within 3 months because they're either a total fraud or they're just an idiot. And I think they were putting that out there and saying, in Japan, unfortunately, any NA thing, I didn't see an NA job post. I did see two Japanese.
Your mic's cutting out a lot there, Shira. I don't know what that's about.
Is this better now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
It was too far from my face. If you...
No, I'm going
Lost my train of thought
okay. All right. Well,
but I think you make a good point. What they do mention, like he doesn't sound like it's not like that they are lacking people in the beginning of it. He kind of sounds like we're lacking competent people. He kind of makes a mention like if we had two skilled developers.
Yeah, which is
a weird phrasing.
It is.
Is he just like bashing on his team?
Yeah, is he just shitting on his team right there?
Let me tell you something. Jim from HR, he sucks.
It is a very odd statement, and the thing is that it does seem like they have a sizable team, but yeah, you kind of wonder about the turnaround that ends up, the churn that ends up going through big companies, big developers like that, and the thing is Shira brings up a good point that a lot of that hiring and most of the development happens overseas. It doesn't happen over here. We're not really privy to a lot of that. You've got sites like Gama Sutra that will watch hirings and everything like that, and kind of keep a close eye on it. And it's a little bit easier to it's easier to monitor the market that you're in as opposed to trying to figure out what's going on half a world away. I mean, obviously the internet makes that easier, but the point's not lost. Thanks for the call, Shira. We appreciate it. You may want to look into that microphone issue. I'm not sure what that was all about. So anyway, just some really I don't know. I don't want to sound so negative about this because, Nika's right. I feel like he is admitting that there is a problem.
So basically, JP developers are all a bunch of noobs and can't develop with crap?
No.
Is that what we're saying?
I don't think that's what we're saying.
All right, confirmed. LBR says JP can't develop. They can't program.
Lol. But I think that there's definitely been some good points hit on here already. So let's see. Do we have another caller on the line?
Sure, I can.
Yeah, let's go back to the phone lines and talk to Paul Bunyan. Paul, what's going on?
Hey, gents, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. I wanted to talk about possible designs that they could implement in future dungeons, perhaps future raid situations. There's one idea that I really hit on just a few minutes ago. it was the idea of branching paths, and that by selecting one path, you lose the ability to select the other paths that were available previously.
Oh, okay, I like that idea.
Like in A2, was it? Not Alexander, sorry. Bahamut Coil 2?
Oh,
where you had fought different bosses, and the last boss would have abilities
exactly.
based on that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Is that something like what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. It hadn't occurred to me that was exactly what we were that I was thinking of. But yeah, that does strike a chord. Another idea is that you could implement these different paths using different mechanics. You could either have the path actually be destroyed behind you and a shortcut appear at that new terminus, so that people who die and have to respawn back at the home point can just take the shortcut to that particular branch and not be allowed to go back and select other branches.
Hey,
or you could have it.
Oh, go ahead.
Another way you could cause these branchings to happen is by time. Your time within a dungeon could allow certain paths to open up and others to be closed off. This could be something for like speedrunners, or people who are going after a particular set of gear. A few things.
Yeah, I like that suggestion. Thanks for the call, Paul. Here's another one that call actually kind of just sparked in my own head. What if you had a dungeon that had multiple paths, right? It puts you on your first time through on one path, you beat the final boss, and then you can either exit or you can return to the start and go and clear the paths that you...
Other path?
Yeah, and get bonus tomes from the bosses that you didn't kill.
That's an idea, too.
Right? Like, I mean, think about it. Like, think of how often you get into a dungeon and you're done within 15 minutes and there's still 80 minutes on the counter. Well, let's use some of that time. Let's get some bonus stuff.
And if you time out, you lose it all.
Oh, well, that's putting some punishment in there. I'm not sure that. I don't think Square Enix has those kind of...
Has the balls for that?
No, not anymore.
You need to grow a set.
No, not anymore.
Nope.
Take some risks.
I think that would be a cool idea, though. Like, any way that they can vary up the dungeons would be good. And even if they could do that to dungeons that have had reworks in some way, like the older dungeons, that would be really cool, although kind of difficult.
I mean, they did that in 1.0. Remember, there was that dungeon that you could walk through in Gridania where you had to... I forgot. It was a Tamtara Todorok, where you got certain orbs and you opened up a certain door and you could fight one of three scorpions at the very end for gear or something like that. I mean, they've done this shit before.
Yeah, I mean, there was
also Karn, wasn't it, where you could open up like that side passageway right near the end if you did all the extra stuff?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, if you look at the difference between Karn hard mode and Karn normal mode, those are two completely different paths that you can take as well. Yep. So, I mean, you're right. It's not like they haven't done this before. It's not like they couldn't do that. I mean, there's always that path in Snowcloak where I'm like, where does that go? That odd door that kind of veers off towards the end before you get to Fenrir.
Oh yeah, well, I'm sure we'll see that in Snowcloak hard mode.
Yeah, I don't think that is...
We're ever getting that.
I mean, maybe at some point, but I wonder why. Like, why would we at this point anymore? Like, what is behind Snowcloak that is even remotely important?
Well, something could retreat there or something. They can make an easy reason to make a Snowcloak hard mode. They just don't want to.
That's when Shiva's coming back to life.
Don't even do that.
Rumors abound that Ice Heart has been sighted in Snowcloak. Could it be true?
Don't even do that. And you know, the thing is that it's so weird to me that an event like Aquapolis was received so highly, but then Deep Dungeon was it was a lukewarm reception. And
you know why?
You can get them fat stacks out of Aquapolis.
That too, but mostly
there was a reason to do it.
You couldn't do it as much as you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You only had a 50% chance to do it after a map. If you could
leave them wanting more.
If you could spam as much as you want, then people would be burnt out in a week or two.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Some of those artificial gates are kind of important for driving for driving that desire. Because you're right. Like, I feel like that's part of what kind of bums me out about the dungeons and raids as they currently exist in 14, because you don't have, like, if you fail, there's nothing that you have to do. You just re-queue. Or if you get a bad group, you leave.
If you die and you wipe, you just get back up. But if you fail even harder and you get kicked out of the dungeon,
right,
then you just go back in.
Yeah, exactly. And remember the hoops that you had to jump through every time you failed at something in FF11? You had to go and recollect some kind of
everything.
Refarm items or recollect key items or something like that.
You had to buy a whole new spam bot.
Well, you felt like you didn't want to fail. Like, it made failure actually have some teeth to it, and it really,
and you also de-level, so then there.
Well, there's that too, but I mean, like, I don't know, just I'm so tired of playing a game that feels like it's bumper bowling all the time. You know what I mean?
It's a good comparison.
Because I mean, we've said
all the punishment for failure is kind of taken out of it.
Right. And again, you know, like, whenever you talk about this, you always get that one person who comes out and says, "Well, what about WildStar? They made WildStar like that. Nobody liked WildStar."
I have never seen anyone mention WildStar in the chat before. You bring it up, so I think you're the one person.
I am not.
I think you are.
I am not. It is inevitably always the straw man argument when you say, well, there should be a bit more of a challenge to everything about the world. Everything. And they go, well, no, look at WildStar. WildStar tanked, and it tried to do a lot of that stuff. But again, WildStar was not an IP that people had any kind of attachment to, so they could fuck off as soon as they felt like they weren't interested in it anymore. If you tried some of those ideas in Final Fantasy with a game that's already a success, that has a community underneath it, that is wildly invested in the game, I think that you'll have very different results. I really do. I think that, WildStar is probably the worst example to hold up, because there was no reason for people to start playing WildStar or keep playing WildStar.
Then, like, the game itself just wasn't fun.
Well, I don't know. I mean, apparently it was challenging, and apparently it was rewarding, but it was a goofy space cartoon MMO. It looked dumb. It looked dumb as shit. And the only people that were trying that game were people who were already playing MMOs. You weren't attracting anyone who wasn't playing MMOs. Final Fantasy XIV, Final Fantasy XI, no matter which way you cut that, you are attracting people outside of the MMO spectrum to play your game, and then you're developing them into MMO players.
There was a huge population for 11 back in the day where they're like, I just finished 10, and I'm really bummed out and sad because the story's over. Wish there was a game I could play where the story never ended. Oh, wait, there's one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, except now it does.
And it's over.
No.
It ended 10 years later.
Yeah, well, it had a good
run.
It had a good run. So there was another game. There was a Gamescom interview. This one was with Final Land. That's a website that I've not heard of before. I think they're Finnish, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know where they're based out of. But clearly somewhere in Europe if they were out at Gamescom.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Gamescom interview.
Sure, I'll take this one, actually.
Okay.
So we're talking about the reasons for repetitive pattern in FF14. The Eorzea Times saying Final Fantasy XIV follows a very specific pattern in its patches and is in some ways very repetitive. The main problem is that many players feel forced to farm content and grow weary of the game, often finding that the majority of the game lacks challenge, even the original content. This is a typical problem of many modern MMOs. Will you completely change the pattern for the next expansion? Naoki replies, I can totally understand your point, but when people say this content is easy, the development team works on some contents and makes it really hard, and then people try it, but they cannot clear it, and then they start to say this content is really difficult. So it's really difficult to draw a line, but we tend to see that players trying to beat content are saying this content is challenging, and once they clear it, then they say it's easy. We cannot just make the contents depending on your feedback each time, otherwise there will be no balance. To provide a content, creating a content where as many players can play, that is the basic policy that the development team wants to have.
Yeah, I think he's also kind of skipping over an important point here too, and that's that, with every patch we get incrementally better gear, and so these fights that start out hard the first week It's because A, people don't know the mechanics yet, and that's pretty obvious. But B, we're growing more and more stronger in terms of our gear each and every single week that we get a new piece to upgrade.
But I think he's kind of like, he's not wrong. Like, you look at like something like Ravana EX when it came out. Like, Ravana EX was hard until you learned the dance. Then Ravana EX, not so bad.
Yes, but at the same time, though, there is, I mean, because of the vertical progression in this game and because of the vertical progression of the gear, you do eventually end up out-leveling the challenge.
Absolutely.
And that's always been a thing that's bothered me in RPGs for a long time, where if you get backed up against a brick wall, you just go grind for a while and then come back and you're able to wipe the floor with that boss. There's no, there's no challenge in that. That was just...
Does it kind of sting that FF13 was the game that tried to do away with that problem?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, a little bit. But, that's always been something that's bothered me, and I've thought that good RPGs generally find a good way around that. I thought that Chrono Trigger was always one that did that in a really inventive way. I don't think you can out-level bosses in that game.
Chrono Cross?
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger. You can definitely out-level bosses.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
What am I thinking of?
Chrono Cross.
Cross?
Yeah, Cross doesn't have XP.
That's the one where it's relative to... Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I am thinking of Cross, sorry.
Final Fantasy VIII tried and spectacularly failed to do
Oh,
that.
my God.
They had a great idea, like, we'll just make it so that as you level up, so do the enemies, and guess what? They level up a little better than you do. It actually gets harder. And all the players are just like, or we'll just skip leveling in Junction.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I guarantee you at some point, one of the developers on FF8 saw that players were doing that and was like, oh, shit.
Oh, damn it. You aren't... No, you're not supposed to... What? Oh.
Play the game normally. Come on.
Come on, guys.
Why are you winning at level 7?
Look.
Except they kind of encourage that with the Cactar Junction abilities, where you get like an additional stat point if you have a certain thing.
If you level up, right? You get.
So you don't want to level up because of that, but then people are like, oh, it's easier this way. So like the game kind of tells you.
But see, look, and this point even goes back into what we were saying about story mode, is that should be the story mode. If you're having a vertical progression system, vertical gear anyway, have out-leveling the content be your version of story mode. It kind of worked for Binding Coil.
Yeah, is there anyone who can't do Binding Coil at this point? I don't think
9. Turn 9.
Is that still hard?
It's still hard because the mechanics still one-shot you.
Oh, okay.
That's literally the only thing that you probably won't be able to out-level unless Square Enix does something.
Interesting.
Which they probably will.
Of course they will. Or they might not because they don't care.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've never made a raid roulette, so...
All right. So continuing on with his answer, it's also true that because the pattern is kind of set, people can speculate what is going to come out in the next patch. But if we totally changed it, say if we were not going to give you any content update, then you would start to realize how great it was when you get the regular content update.
Whoa, hang on.
Yeah, if you say, you know what, we're just not going to develop anymore, you're right. We'd probably be like, I liked it when you did stuff.
Is that a threat? I mean, it sounds like that sounds like Yoshi P going, you should be glad for the content that you do get because we could just take this effort and go somewhere else with it.
Thanks for Verminion.
Man, so not cool.
So the stability, the situation
that really kind of does sound like an asshole thing to say. I'm sorry, it really does.
There's some frustration in that sentence.
After thinking about that for a second, like that makes me go, that's a little bit of a dick statement right there.
Yeah, literally.
Are you threatening our game?
Yeah, he's going, well, you know what, you're really going to like these shitty updates when you suddenly get them cut in half.
Or not at all.
Like, god damn, dude.
Have fun finding a job when we all unsub.
Excuse me, Yoshi, we already have them cut in third, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Rip in pieces, 3 dungeon update.
So the stability, the situation that in each patch you get something that is the core of the new content is needed. If you totally don't get that, then you would start to feel like it's gotten worse. For example, we released 2 dungeons in each patch, but if we reduced it to 1, then you might say 1 is not enough and we might just get bored of it, so please bring back 2.
Wait,
you mean like
that.
We're saying bring back 3?
You son of a bitch!
What?
Does he not remember that they used to do 3?
I don't know.
Oh, shit!
Is it like
his brain's going mushy?
So, or if we release raid dungeons really rarely, then you might think that you had one raid every 6 months, every 2 patches, but now you don't get anything, so then you might want to get the original pattern back.
You know what? We're just not going to give it anymore.
Mind frame. What the hell's happened to our?
I feel like he was either drunk or did not study the questions at all. He's like just talking off the top of his head.
Well, look, what he might be saying is that in lieu of getting that content, they could work on something else. They could work on a new concept and a new design that would take the place of one of those patches.
A new Final Fantasy.
Okay, so let's say that they do take our suggestion to heart and they do take and form a new version of raid content.
Sure.
And they develop that alongside of what would be the analog to Alexander and Binding Coil in 4.0.
Okay.
And they've still got the full Alliance content, right? So they've got this now third piece of content. I think what he is saying is if we put all of that into one content patch, right? Like if 4.1 was our first effort in that development area in putting in this new sort of raid function, and we had to do it at the expense of putting in not just the other raid content, but also dungeons and all of the other QOL updates, and that we would have to wait 12 or between 6 and 12 months for those to come. I think that's the point that he's actually driving at.
So
now that we gave him all
people.
Yeah, now that we teased him, I think that's actually the point that he's driving at, and I think that's actually a remarkably good point, because we have to always remember that the expectation on our point has to be reasonable, right? But there's a balance. There's also a fine line that they're treading, because they're asking us to commit $12 a month every month to playing this game.
And we actually brought that point up back when we were talking about the fact that there was no longer 3 dungeons. That, like, yes, there is no longer 3 dungeons, but now we see things like Deep Dungeon or Aquapolis or new events like that come into the game.
Exactly.
That's the shift. And that's what he's driving at. You're right.
And he's not wrong.
Right.
He's not wrong. And I think that we do, for Juxta, as much as you like to tease him about dropping a dungeon, I think that he's, he's not lying when he says that the time that they would have taken developing that third dungeon has been going to developing these new systems like Diadem and like Deep Dungeon.
Lords of Verminion.
And Lords of Verminion, as little as I like to
Thank you,
admit
SE.
And you make it's a good point, because he's basically tempering our expectations. He's saying we're not going to have a bigger development team coming in. It's not. Right. There's not going to be more content.
Now, and here's the ground that I'm willing to give him right now, okay? Because understanding that point, I think, is very important as an audience, because they are working inside their own limitations. However, I think that they could make some serious strides in the department of, making sure that we understand what they're doing with these new systems, with the way that they end up updating Diadem, with the way that they end up expanding Diadem. If they do it in the right way, if they do it in a way that the community responds positively to, and again, we've put out a bajillion different suggestions on the ways that they could choose to do that. But all I'm saying, objectively, as long as it's received positively, right, and it's seen as an addition to that system, then I think that we could actually probably put some faith in the fact that Square Enix might be building bigger systems, but that it's just going to take some time, and that we have to give them the time to be able to work on it. And then maybe we were a little bit hard on Deep Dungeon and Diadem out of the gate if this is if the direction that they take it is good, and if if they end up taking it that way. So, there's a lot of caveats there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of caveats there. But I think that if they really want to drive that point home, then they should really look very closely at what they're doing next with Diadem, because what they've told us about what they're doing next with Diadem does not inspire confidence. It does not inspire confidence that they're building on systems that they've already designed, or trying to make them more appealing to players, not just straight up endgame players, but anyone sitting at level 60.
Yep.
I guess I wish that they were just a little more candid about what their resources are going into. Like he says, okay, because we haven't changed our our cycle, you don't realize that if we did, it would actually hit, it would have to be one or the other. But like, my problem is that he flat out said, if we had 2 more developers, we could do this. So in my head, I'm like, okay, get 2 more developers then. So like, it's hard for me to see like, okay, he can't or they won't for whatever reason. But he's not being like, I don't know. It's hard for me as a player or as a consumer to understand why, like, they would have to take these risks and that kind of thing.
That's a concession that we have to give Square Enix because we don't know the finer points of how they operate their business. We don't know the finer points of how they allocate funds, how they allocate staff, how they move or shuffle staff around. We've heard reports from former employees that they shuffle talent between different projects as it's needed. And if that's what they're doing, then, that's a company decision, and we can't lay that responsibility at the feet of
No, I know that, but I feel like when we first heard originally, the original 14 team that had Tanaka and whatever else, and that whole entire team stepped down and a whole new team stepped in, I was under the impression that 14 was its own, like, contained team. Like, this was the 14 team.
Why would you think that? Because 11 was never like that.
But 11 never, we had no communication with Tanaka ever, so I had no idea what 11's team was like, because there was never a letter from the producer. There was never anything to tell us what's going on in Tanaka's brain. So I had no idea what was going on behind 11. I just looked at the content and smiled and enjoyed it. But with this one, because he's a little bit more open, it's making me feel like I'm being, like, not necessarily lied to, but like information is being held back from me, and it's frustrating.
Well, yeah, but Yoshi P can't exactly come out and go, okay, well, Square, corporate has allocated, $4 million less to our budget. We've had to fire 3 people. He can't. He can't come out and disclose that kind of stuff because you just can't. Like, that's just not something that you do, right?
Well,
like,
of course.
I mean,
and I don't know why. I just always figured 14 was its own entity, and it was its own, like, self-sustained thing. Like, if 14 was doing well, 14 would get more people on their team.
No, that's
you sweet summer child.
That's never.
It's very sad that it's not like that.
I don't think that's ever the way that Square Enix as a company has ever functioned.
I don't see why. If 14 is making a lot of money, or they develop something that all of a sudden sees a huge spike in subs, they should get more people.
Talk to the president. You're talking to a guy who does a talk show about a Square Enix game.
Well, obviously, but if I wrote a letter to them, what would they do? Nothing.
Thank you for your interest. Please look forward to it.
Yeah.
Clear.
They didn't even sign it. What the hell?
Was there more? I think there was more to that statement.
Yeah. All right. So you might think that because you get everything each 3 months, it's kind of normal for you, and that's why we want to bring in some new contents and new ideas like Aquapolis and Deep Dungeon. So we still keep on releasing the patch updates each 3.5 months, but we're adding more content like this. This is the development team's effort to come up with new ideas and keep updating the game, but also giving new elements to it, which is kind of what we just talked about. Also, at 3.4 launch, some new features will also be added in the game, so please look forward to this content.
Okay, new features, great.
I would like to add 2 points to this. The first one is about the relic quest, the animal weapon quest, which is time consuming. You might say it's going to be time consuming and it's not really challenging, but the reason we have this content in the game is to support those who are not good at playing the game. Which I feel so justified in not having done that quest.
Right? If you have a relic, you're garbage.
I feel so good right now.
Oh my god! Oh, that is one of maybe the most unintentionally funny things in this entire interview.
That is my all-time favorite Yoshi quote I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, this is in here because you suck at the game.
You know what? I'm reading it again just because it felt that good. You might say it's going to be time consuming and it's not really challenging, but the reason we have this content in the game is to support those who are not good at playing the game. Say to beat the raid contents to get the higher level items with higher item level. So if this relic quest was too difficult for them, then it's going to discourage them to try it. That's why it is our intention to make it less challenging for the animal weapon quest.
Oh, that is so
my god.
Ouch. They're saying this is for you story moders out there.
Now, yes, yeah, that is exactly what he's saying. But the thing is that it doesn't have to exclusively be that. And
right, which is what people in the chat are saying right now. I got the relic, I suck. No, that's not what he's saying.
No, that's what we're saying. We're telling you that. Aniro is telling you that. Not Yoshi P, Aniro. No, but it doesn't have to only be that, because if you start adding, again, this goes back to an idea that we've thrown around before, that if you have all of the stages of the relic available from the get-go, except the grind to get beyond what they want you to have is so ungodly, ridiculously poop socky, like in that neighborhood, that is an incentive for players who are actually good at the game, or are devoting a ton of time to the game, to get a reward out of it that actually means something.
And finally, if you really want to have some challenging contents, with patch 3.45, Deep Dungeon will have another 150 floors to the current ones, which means the total number of floors will be 200. You may be able to get to the 100th floor relatively easy, but from the 101st floor onwards to the 200th, it will be really difficult. So if you want to challenge this, please try this. And in solo too. Also, a ranking system will be added too, so if you want to get to the top, then you will have a hard time clearing content.
He keeps saying this. I hope that actually happens.
We'll see, because we're supposed to 3.45. That's when we're supposed to find out.
Next 150 floors. Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. And again, I think that's good though.
I'm surprised.
The 150. I'm surprised that the 150 is coming out so quickly.
Yep.
I thought it would have at least. I would have thought it would at least come in 2 different stages.
I wonder if they had all of it planned and he just jumped the gun and just released the first 50 just to send it out.
No, actually,
maybe as a test. Maybe.
I actually think that Nika hit it on the head. I think that they had all of it designed from the get-go, and that it was all ready to go from the start, and that they put the first 50 out as a way to gauge, like, okay, how is this going to do moving forward?
Then they can make adjustments on those 150 others if they need to.
Yeah,
that's a good call.
So I mean, and again, I thought that Deep Dungeon was a really interesting and fun system, except for the part where you're stuck, between 1 and 30. That is just excruciatingly painful. But the thing is that, like, as if they rewarded it properly between 150 and 200 with gear, and not just a glowy weapon, but with actual meaningful gear that looks good. Come on.
Please.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Please.
Especially because it's going to be level 60 anyway, so they don't have to worry about any random scaling of gear to your level. Like, everyone's at 60, just give us relevant gear.
Oh my God, please. That's a reason to do that part of the game would be fun, because I think Kahlo said this. I fucking hate the weapons. The weapons are terrible.
They're awesome.
I like them.
They are hideous.
I like them too. Stern also hates them.
They are very divisive. I will say that. You love them or you hate them.
Especially because the actual design of them is very, very basic. It's just all light.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
All right. Aniro's favorite question on here now. Yoshida-san, what is your favorite meal? And to which he replied, meat and ramen. Could you eat it every day? To which he replied, steak would be heavy to eat every day, but yeah, I can survive with eating ramen every day. Yoshida then laughs and opens the drawer of the furniture of the interview room to show us a pile of cup ramen.
Great.
Thanks.
I'm wondering why we included this part.
Because it was funny.
Because it leads into the next question, right?
Yeah. I'm saying that because, this is them asking again. I'm saying that because I feel the same for Final Fantasy XIV. It's the same thing every day. For example... Oh, man, that was actually really good.
Epic burn.
Nailed it.
Ooh. I like these guys just won instant, 20 points with me.
It was great.
Wow.
For example, I like pasta bolognese, so I will eat it, but I will grow tired of it. You can add some spices or herbs like Aquablus or Palace of the Dead, but in the end, it's the same meal. I don't want pasta anymore. Give me pizza or something else.
Whoa, shots fired.
And who is this?
This is from Finaland.
Final Land. I think it's Final Land. They seem. I did poke around their website. They seem like a European resource for Final Fantasy.
Okay, so Final Land.
Yeah.
That is such an amazing question.
What a great. And I love the way that it's worded. Like, damn.
Good setup.
Aquapolis or Palace of the Dead, but it's the same thing.
And Yoshi replies, laughing, I totally understand your point. I also know that you love the game, and that's why you want something new to the game. However, if we put some content with a different design that is not following the FF14 way, then the game is going to be crushed. What? It will not be FF14 anymore. I actually saw a lot of competitor titles that actually fail by doing this, so we want to avoid being in the same situation. We are still keeping the content update with each patch, but it's totally okay for you to have some time where you don't play the game in between patches, but when the new patch comes on, you're coming back to the game and you might feel fresh after you've played some other games.
No, come on.
Then by coming back to 14, you might feel that there's something new. This is the kind of play cycle that I'm suggesting, but what I don't want to do is break the game. I totally understand. So with the 4.x series, we would like to give you something really new and some really new content and challenges. That is something that we would like you to look forward to.
All right. Well, at least he pulls it back.
He just said the two opposite things.
No, I'm hoping what he's alluding to, or what he's realizing, is that in the middle of an expansion or a patch cycle is what you don't want to do, and then at the expansion is going to be the time to try something new.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that's what that whole thing meant.
Yep.
Yeah. Because the first half of that is so like my heart was sinking when I was reading that earlier. I'm like,
and
God.
So many people have panicked about this statement too. I mean, it is a really. I think saying that, trying something new would lead to the game getting crushed. I don't think that that's necessarily true.
No. Minion.
I don't think that that's true at all, because I think what you have to do is you have to recognize the content that falls into the expectation pattern. That is your dungeons. Your dungeons have to be there. Every patch, doesn't matter. Dungeons got to be there because we've got to have something to grind tomes on, right?
Right.
That is, I think, a pretty reasonable expectation.
Yeah, I think no one is going to give them crap for that being part of the patch. Right. We know that's coming.
Right. Right. What are some other things that, like, every patch we have hardline expectations on?
Main storyline.
MSQ. Yep. I feel like I feel like those two, probably you've got the bare bones, the barest of bones for an update. Now, if you decided to skip a raid floor in favor of going somewhere else in a different direction,
some more scholasticate,
I feel like he's taking a very all or nothing approach to this, and that what he's saying is, like, we don't want to have a patch that breaks the cycle of what we've been putting out and breaks our players' expectations for what they want to continue doing when they log in.
Right.
Because I'm sure if you look at the data, most of what we're doing is logging in, doing our roulettes. Retainers, that kind of stuff. Yep. Yeah. So you want to be able to still be encouraging that. And by having that, you still have all of your tome gear. You still have your progression stuff as you've laid it out for the entirety of the earlier part of the game. But I don't think that trying something new beyond those 2 points of expectation breaks or crushes your game. That, I think, is a wildly inaccurate statement, even looking at the development pattern of other MMOs.
Yeah. And I agree with Nika. I think very much that was aimed at saying, like, listen,
I fucking hope so, man.
He's like, listen, we're not going off on some crazy path in the middle of an expansion. We're just not going to do that. 4.0 maybe. Like, that's what that last paragraph kind of says to me.
God, I hope so.
If
I
not,
really
though,
do.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm not doing another expansion of exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah. It really, and I thought that Final Land really put it so succinctly.
I'm tired of pasta bolognese, damn it.
It's good. It's great. It's a great meal, but after having it every fucking day, I want something else.
I want Southwestern lasagna.
And Yoshi P's
hint.
I want Legion burgers.
Yoshi P's answer that it's okay for you to fuck off and play another game for a while. That has not sat well with a lot of people. I don't think it sits very well with me.
No.
No, me either.
That is a horrible thing to say as an MMO developer.
Yeah.
What is the matter with you?
I want my MMO developer to look at me the way that a crack dealer looks at a crack addict.
No, I agree. I feel like he should look at us with the way of like, there's so much to do in my game. You don't want to play another game.
That's exactly.
But that's not what he's saying. And
No.
They should look at us like saying like any second they spend in another game is a failure.
Yes.
Like that's not okay.
And that is very much an old school MMO way of doing things. And I think that there was some detriment to that when that was the prevailing model for MMOs. When you in the glory days of your Ultima Onlines and your EverQuests and Final Fantasy XIs, that was when people were spending the longest periods of time logged in and engaged with the game, to sometimes the expense of other parts of their life.
Of school.
Right. But having an MMO where all of those elements are stripped out, where all of those elements are not present, doesn't lead to a very satisfying game environment. And you sit down for, like maybe you have 5 or 6 hours, and after 3, you're like, I'm kind of done.
Yeah, time to go play Dark Souls.
Exactly. That's what you don't want as an MMO developer. And I'm shocked that he doesn't recognize that, and I'm concerned that that's the prevailing opinion, not just among Yoshi P, but the entire development team.
He really just says, I know my game's boring, but when you play another game and you come back, it'll feel different. Yeah. You've been playing another game.
It'll feel super fresh because you haven't been here in a while. You know what, Yoshi? Some people have to program a 3-hour podcast every week, and it's getting hard.
I mean, after 1 hour
we see the chat messages where it's like, haven't we heard this conversation before? Yeah, you have, because we don't have anything else to talk about. We're really frustrated by it.
Because he says the same things and it doesn't give us anything new.
After 1 hour coming back, it's like, oh, that's right. This is why I stopped playing the game.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jesus, did you even try?
Let's talk about H&Ms and FF14. Nika's gonna be super excited.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Some free companies dream of open areas exclusively for high-level difficult, where monsters cannot be fought solo but with a group or an alliance, where monsters do not stop when you're sprinting, where we find the defensive and conquest contents. What? That doesn't make any sense. An area that really evolves based on the results of the actions of the players in the area, etc. Basically, something open, scalable, unlimited, promoting the organization, and really hard. He laughs again.
No, come on, you.
It's something of a totally different game. This is not FF14. To give you a more logical reason, in order to make a really difficult content, you need to have a really logical setup and settings and damage balance to it. You have to start off with some mathematical calculations behind it and many formulas for the settings. Think of an extreme primal, for example. You fight with a group of 8 people, but if this was an open field, we couldn't know how many people there would be. So the formula is always made by X and Y, but we couldn't put the specific numbers to it.
It's called one alliance.
So if you want a really difficult monster to pop in an open area, it's mathematically impossiple to create, basically. Really? How about a claim system? I'll bet you can do it with a claim system.
Do this.
Yeah.
Don't they do that already with hunts, though?
They do.
Or even just doing it the pop system, where you pop it yourselves. And then you know exactly how many people, one fucking alliance.
Yeah.
Probably you must have played a lot of MMOs from the old school ones, so you must know it, but take Extreme Mode Ifrit, for example. If you beat it with 8 people, you might feel that's still challenging, but if we put it in an open field with a bunch of players, more than 8, and a tank kites this monster and he just keeps running around and other people just keep attacking it, this Ifrit can just die immediately and there will be no gimmicks that he normally does, like eruptions and stuff. He won't be able to do it. And those things are actually what makes Ifrit what he is. So we have to limit the area and limit the number of people to play content, otherwise it's going to be totally impossible. This idea is not that simple to realize, so if you can understand, that would be really appreciated.
Jesus, this is actually almost depressing.
Do you know, have you ever played Diablo 2?
Not 2, no.
So there was Diablo, of course, one of the main bosses in Diablo, shocker.
Yeah.
There was a version of Diablo that could spawn named Uber Diablo. That was what he was affectionately termed.
Yeah.
He would only pop in a game. Basically, there was a ring called Stone of Jordan, and if you sold Stone of Jordan to an NPC for jack nothing in gold, it was a waste of effort. But when you did it, you'd get a little counter that would pop up that say, so many Stones of Jordan have been sold to NPCs, and everyone's like, what the hell does that mean? So people started getting these really rare rings and selling them to NPCs for nothing, until eventually a message popped up in the upper right corner that said, Diablo walks the earth. And in whoever got that message in that game, Uber Diablo would spawn. So anyone who happened to get lucky to get that message, Uber Diablo would pop. And he was a really boss-ass buff version of Diablo that was very hard to solo. Certain really cheesy job classes could do it.
Okay.
But most often you needed help, and he would have sweet loot drops. That's awesome. Why can't something like that exist? How hard? It's not that hard to program. They did it in the 90s with Diablo.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what he's driving at. I do think that he is pointing out some of the flaws in hunts, right? Because, he mentions, like, if you have a paladin that's tanking or kiting the mob, you kind of, and you've got like 100 people that are banging on the thing, you really don't get the full sense of like you're actually fighting something and the mechanics are there.
FF14 is a game of mechanics.
Well, and that
when
was,
you're in an open world, it's tank and spank, and that's not what he feels FF14 is.
Well, and that was kind of a problem with hunts. Like, there was that problem with hunts, especially when they were popular, where you'd have this mob of people come and kill this monster, and you had no sense of what its moveset was or what it was doing, or like that there was even any kind of challenge involved with any of them. So
you're just fighting that claw hunt, and then suddenly you die. You're like, oh, I'm dead. Res, please.
But, I think that's what he's kind of identifying there. And I understand that problem. And I also think that just saying, well, throw a claim system on it, I think that is probably a little bit more complicated than just saying, well, just saying that is pretty easy. Putting that in there is probably a little bit more complicated. But I do like the idea of pop items. That way you can control your party. That way you don't have to have a hardline claim system that whoever gets there first or whatever, because that kind of environment encourages botting. But I think that you're right. Like a pop system where you've got an item, you trade it to a point, and now that monster is your party's to fight until one of you dies.
Maybe you have to find these 10 glowing orbs and place them strategically around the world, and when you do, a huge Cthulhu-like monster spawns, and you have to fight it, and everyone on the server gets a notice about it. Oh, damn it. WoW beat us to it again.
Damn it.
Is that something new in Legion?
It sure is. We're going to be talking about it on Final Encounter Cast. It's awesome.
We are going to do it. We are going to do a show where we talk about Legion. It's going to happen. Yeah. Just prepare yourself.
So continuing on with that response, however, the development team is currently creating something similar to the content you suggested. Something like having a gigantic monster popping somewhere and you need to have an alliance to actually beat it.
All right.
This kind of content that we are creating is a new idea, but I must say that something like affecting the map by your actions, like a meteor falling from the sky and hit the ground, like you say, that could not happen. We are trying to make a similar content, so please wait for more details and announcements in the future. So he's saying, it's not going to like change the zone permanently when you find it.
I don't think anyone expected that.
No, but that said, that's actually encouraging.
Yeah, no.
But every single question is like, I'm going to completely negative answer your question, and then my last paragraph say, well, we're kind of working on it.
It feels like he's explaining here's why it's not here now, but we're working on it.
There's some weird tension that was going on in that interview. I got to say, but the interviewer got a little bit mouthy, and I think that Yoshi P got a little bit offended. It's kind of
yeah.
I mean, that's sort of what I read in that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just thought that both of these interviews were really interesting. They made some really interesting points, and definitely something worth talking about. If you want to talk about it, give us a call. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We're going to go back to our phone lines. We've got Tavis Macbeth of Famfret hanging on. What's going on, Tavis?
Hey, Nero, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio. What's up, homie?
Well, first off, I want to say thanks for the birthday shout-out to my wife yesterday. I go on Twitch by Asian Cajun, so
that's what's
thanks
up.
For that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. No problem. We're always happy to do that.
So my thought was more about the rating. I'm one of those players who's a huge Final Fantasy fan that came to 14 because I really regretted not getting into 11 more.
Sure.
I tried playing it on Xbox 360, and that wasn't too fun. So I ended up getting into 14, and enjoying the game a lot. And I always felt bad that I didn't get into rating, so I finally decided, hey, I'm going to try it last Sunday. Did Labyrinth of the Ancients, and it was brutal. I just felt like dead weight. I didn't know what was going on. So my thought is that maybe, do you think that the game doesn't prepare people for raiding? The game's very single-player feeling, and then they get you into dungeons, but when I did the raid, it was like I got tossed in and I just felt like completely worthless, especially as a paladin who didn't know the mechanics.
Well, okay. Specifically as a paladin going into Labyrinth of the Ancients for the first time, and being that that's pretty old content. Like that was, what was that, 2.2 that was
something like that
put out? Yeah,
2.1.
No, I think it was 2.2. Anyway, that's going back there in the history. So first of all, the people that are doing it, most of them, and I would say the bulk of them, are probably going to end up being very, very, experienced at it. You know what I mean? Like, they will have done this a million times. So if you don't know, especially being a paladin, the pulls, there are some very specific mechanics in there. Yeah, I could see how you would feel a little bit left behind. So I think what may be a recommendation in that area would be to just openly say, hey, like, I'm catching up. This is my first time. Anything that you can explain to me might help a lot in that area. But I do think that the game in general, in the way that the updates roll out, does prepare you pretty well for that type of content. But it's interesting because you're going back and going through that now. Does it still prepare you in the same way? Because I feel like the way that the content was put out and rolled out, my context of it was as a level 50 player from the minute A Realm Reborn was out. So, my context is going to be very different from someone who just finished the leveling process and may have a very like solo outlook on that, as opposed to my outlook on it, which is really, really different.
I didn't finish 50 until 2.0 came out, so like I wouldn't say I felt lost when I started getting to like things like Labyrinth of the Ancients, but I also spent a ton of time when we were doing the Darklight Tome grind, just in freaking Amdapor Keep, like doing my working with my rotation, just like because you get bored, you're just trying to see like how big a number can I get to pop up on the screen. Yeah, that's what it turns into. Right. So like there was tons of time practicing my rotation with that, but. Yeah, I would say I got into Labyrinth of the Ancients, and it was a very big like change. All of a sudden, like, well, there's some mechanics I got to learn, and it was different. I would say that
was one of the first things that had like massive scale mechanics. But back then, everyone was willing to either explain it or just troll the hell out of you.
Yeah, nowadays you're kind of you should know, probably,
and especially the tank too. Like, I mean, being the tank. Well, and I don't know that there are necessarily any guides that you could look up for Labyrinth of the Ancients right now that would be relevant.
Even remotely relevant.
You could look up the old Miztech one, but you're going to be vastly over prepared.
Yeah, I that's the thing, is that handling a lot of the mechanics, especially like the ground floor AoEs and stuff like that, used to be a way bigger deal and used to be treated with import. But I don't think that they are anymore. I mean, it's mostly, again, as a tank, I think skellies. Like, you're going to need to know what to do for the dragon and the skeleton room,
and the three Atomos where you have to stand on the platform so you can fight the enemy.
As a tank, I feel like you were put in a really bad situation going in there blind as a tank. Like, if you had gone in there blind for the raid as a DPS,
yeah, no problem.
You probably would have had a massively different experience.
Don't stand in the shit. That's all you gotta do.
Kind of. At
this point.
Stand in the shit if you want. It's fine.
It's probably all right.
But yeah, no, I mean, and that's kind of a good point for anyone who's coming up and leveling a tank for the first time. Like, stuff like that, content like that is gonna be confusing on its face. It definitely is. Thanks for the call, Tavis. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We'd love to hear from you. I think we've got another caller here on the line. We're going to go back to them in just a second. But we got a lot of emails in the last couple of weeks. Like, a lot. And I'm just looking at the clock here, and I'm not sure.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I'm not sure how many of them we're going to be able to get to, and I feel like if we don't just dedicate an entire episode to it, that
we're never going to get through.
We're maybe never going to get.
Well, there's
through.
not a lot of content coming out from Final 14.
It's like.
Well, that just happened.
20 pages of them.
Yeah.
20 pages of emails came in last week.
There's a lot
Failing
of emails.
podcast.
Yeah, totally. Real quick, let's go back to our phone line. Shinta Sin is hanging on. What's up, Shinta?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio.
Thank you for having me. So it was funny because I wanted to call in earlier before you read the article out, and then that line about the people that can't play the game well need content, and they're basing all around them, and I just literally lost my shit when I heard that.
Yeah.
But like my inquiry really, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this as well, because we talked about, like the last time I called, we talked about Final Fantasy XI.
Yeah.
And, you know, like they would consistently bring out new content, you know, that wasn't the same thing. Like we already know what we're getting with 14, unfortunately. Like we know that it's just a 24-man dungeon, end game raid that barely anybody touches anymore. Like, do you think, besides the fact of, like, do you think it's just like with the generation of gaming where it is right now, like games have to be easier for everybody else, like compared to like games how they used to play, and that they were harder back in the day? Like 11, we were like back in the days of Final Fantasy 11, you know, as gamers, I guess we were used to having to deal with a challenge. So when there was hard content, we didn't really
rose to the challenge.
Nerves. We just basically rose up to it and tried to get our shit done. But do you think like that's the problem for it? Like, because I know that in their development cycle, they could definitely develop newer content if they truly wanted to, because they did it for 11. But do you think like it's just that they're set in their ways? Do you think they're just doing it for the easy mode gamers? Do you think that they legitimately just don't have the talent to do that anymore? Do you have any opinions on that?
You know, I think that honestly, it's just the type of players that exist nowadays in comparison. Like when I look at 11, I don't see so much challenging content as I see long time consuming content, whereas people nowadays just don't have the patience for that kind of stuff. So I feel like they're catering to today's gamer rather than it being like a lazy gamer. I just feel like gaming and gamers as a whole has changed and evolved, and they're trying to keep up with that. I'm not sure if they exactly are doing it correctly, but I think that they're trying.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I've thought about that a lot, about whether or not the way that game development is going, and you kind of see this in a microcosm with FF14, that, you know, it does seem to be that games are making a lot of concessions to make things easier. And I have wondered that myself, whether or not that's a generational divide, and that's just something that we have to deal with as gamers moving forward, and dealing with younger players, and them, because I feel like that is where the push comes from. That it comes from younger players, less mature players who don't, when they're met with a challenge, instead of rising to the challenge, they complain to the person who's in charge of the challenge. And I think that's, and I'm not trying to hate on millennials. I technically am one, but I feel like that's a very millennial idea. I feel like that whole idea of safe spaces and, these colleges that have to protect safe spaces, all of this stuff is a very millennial driven idea that I feel like it comes down to, like, I didn't get the thing that I wanted and I'm going to complain to my mom about it.
So why wasn't it there 10 years ago? Where did it come from in the last 10 years?
I mean, parenting is part of it. I think. I also think that we're just, the internet and the way that it has instant gratification for everyone. I think that's across the board. That's not generational. That's everyone. It's instant gratification no matter what. And the other part of it is that with the internet, you can just live inside your bubble forever. You don't have to listen to another person's opinion. You can just block them from Facebook. You don't ever have to listen to anyone
just unsubscribe from LBR.
You don't have to listen to someone that challenges what you think, because there are 4 other Final Fantasy XIV podcasts that won't challenge your beliefs about this game, or won't tell you that this game is in trouble at the moment, and they'll just placate you because you're a fan of the game and because you want to hear someone that is also a fan of the game. That's kind of not what we do. That's inherently not what we do. But it does feel like, in a way, we're moving towards that in this bigger way, like as a culture and as a society. And I don't totally like that. I don't like that. It's not a thing that has ever really connected with me. where, like that whole idea of you can't say that or that's not funny. Those notions, I get very incensed by those notions. So anyway, Shinta, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. We're gonna have to move on here a little bit before we run out of time. But we want to talk about some totally unconfirmed features that are not coming to FF14 anytime soon.
These are great.
Oh, yeah. These are... we have dug through the recesses of...
our minds.
Our imaginations.
Mailbags.
The mailbag.
Interviews. Research, yeah. We've had interns doing research.
Deep Google searches.
That's right.
Google research.
Dark
Google
web.
libraries.
Dark
in
web.
the Google library, we found something.
That's right.
Yeah,
there you go.
We went into Yoshi's dreams, and these are what he dreams about.
That's right.
Canon.
That's right. So we've got 14 totally unconfirmed features that are not coming to FF14.
Totally.
All right, let's take it away. Number 1, we have the FF14 companion app. Now you can handle basic FF14 functions through your phone. After linking your phone to the FF14 account, you can now talk to Link Shell and Free Company through your phone. Texting fees do apply at 25 cents per line sent. In addition, players can also list items on the market board, provided they pay a 5% per item tax at 1-to-1 guild to penny ratio. Note that players may only use this function if they currently have 8 retainers. Finally, you may also play your favorite Gold Saucer minigame. No, not Lords of Verminion, it's Whack-a-Cur. All this and more for the low download price of $7.99 and a $4.99 monthly subscription fee.
Actually, when are they releasing the app they did actually talk about?
Never.
Never coming.
Never.
Supposedly before 4.0, but
yeah, right.
I highly doubt it.
So another feature that we're going to be seeing are cross-server party finders for Link Shell and Free Company events.
Oh, great.
Perfect for your fashion shows, Lala Maid cafes, and other role-playing events.
Oh, I really hope that you can put up different tags for what kinds of hentai you're into so people know what to look for.
Just as long as I get to have my cosplay badge next to my name.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I have an actual cat cafe where I pet kitties?
No.
Cross servers?
No, you
Wrong
can
kind of cats.
You can have a cat cafe where you can pet cat men.
Oh, well,
Male cat
in thongs.
I don't know. That might not be too bad.
Hello, kitties.
All right, number 3.
Panicked clicking to find the drop.
I gotta find it. Got it. Number 3, Raid Roulette. Finally, Square Enix decides to let us use their old raid environments to allow players to get a bonus to their tomes each and every day. Oh, but it's not for Color or Tower or anything like that. It's for Alexander Gordius only.
Oh. I guess it's good that that's here.
Yeah, great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4, bringing back the danger. Elite monsters worth absolutely nothing now spawn randomly. Eorzea is a wild and untamed place where anyone could find themselves between a rock and a hard place. But don't worry, max level characters still fly, so only the low levels get shit on.
And our 5th feature, we've got Lords of Verblitzball. Yes, everything you love about Blitzball taken out and replaced with cutesy, stupid bullshit. Watch your minions play a bastardized, unrecognizable version of Blitzball, but we still call it Blitzball because we just want your fucking money.
Shit, yeah!
Oh, I've been looking forward to that event for a while. Now I can have my Tidus minion do the Ject shot.
But I'll tell you, it'll still be better than what we have now.
Number 6.
Number 6.
From number 6.
Number 6.
Do I have to read this?
Yes, you do.
Number 6.
It's number 6.
Oh, no.
It's number
So predictable.
It's number 6. You absolutely have to read this one. Read it.
Introducing wyverns.
All right.
Fuck you, Chucksta. Dragoons will now get a battle wyvern pet to assist them in battle.
That's awesome.
In order to reward Dragoon mains, only those with a fully upgraded Animus will be able to undertake a quest to ally with your draconic companion.
Okay, well, that's not too bad.
To ensure the prestige of the wyvern pet, the quest to obtain the battle wyvern will only be active for 24 hours after implementation. Failure to complete the quest within the specified time frame will permanently lock the character from receiving the wyvern. To make the wyvern more desirable, Battle Litany has been moved to the wyvern's active commands. Dragoon's damage has been adjusted to account for these changes. Fuck you!
You could just hear how pained it was for him to read that. That's my favorite thing ever.
I'm sorry.
God damn it.
I'm crying.
You're crying.
I'm crying because it's so hilarious.
Oh my God.
You're Wyvern.
Well, you
I like
can
how
get
all-
the
I like-
animus.
this makes it even better after Yoshi's statement because now literally only the bad dragoons get to have a wyvern.
Yeah. All right, number 7.
Number 7.
I was not expecting that from Nika. To enjoy more Final Fantasy VII media, introduce Final Fantasy XIV media.
Wow.
Introducing the Final Fantasy XIV anime and full CGI movie. The anime will consist of 6 20-minute episodes which detail the history and background of your favorite Scholasticate members. In addition, 2 months later, we'll release a straight-to-DVD Final Fantasy XIV special featuring the Scholasticate and their conflicts during the calamity brought by Bahamut.
Oh my God!
This chilling tale will feature many pious pupils who are studying to be clergymen just mere moments before Bahamut raised Eorzea. Watch their stories unfold afterwards as they are generally unaffected and continue their studies. In full CGI.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, that is so fucking funny. Of course they would do it about the Scholasticate, the thing that nobody cares about.
And before Hildebrand ventures there.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I can't.
Okay. Introducing Red Mage and Blue Mage.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
They are classes.
Oh.
Red Mage is the base class for Astrologian.
Oh, that makes sense.
Blue Mage is the base class for Dark Knight.
Oh.
Because they use swords.
Due to general player discontent, we are adjusting Machinist to not exist.
Oh, damn.
Get fucked, girl.
Okay. Number 9. Due to the overwhelming popularity of the Relic Weapon questline, we are adding another relic quality item to the game. Capes! Through trials and tribulations similar in scope and size to the traditional relic weapon, the relic cape will test your mettle in airship exploration, PvP, and the gold saucer. We hope players enjoy adventuring to gain access to these wondrous items. Note, capes have no gear slot and will be used for in-town glamour purposes. Actually, if that wasn't the case, I would actually be totally down.
Oh, Nika, no, don't say
that. I could wear a cape and it would get me to do PvP and it would actually make people do PvP again. Hell yes.
Nika, don't.
What?
Nika, that was a WoW reference because WoW had a legendary cape questline.
It's cute. I would wear a cape.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Due to popular request, we will be adding a cheese sandwich recipe to the game. Note, the cheese sandwich +1 will be added at a later date and will require a divine touch. FF11 jokes are funny.
Yay. Feel like that should have been point number 11.
Oh, it should have. Guess we gotta kind of take that for granted.
Granite?
Another 11 joke. Speaking of number 11.
Number 11!
To assist in overall morale, certain players have been removed from the Sargentanis server, and their free company has been disbanded.
Oh, I wonder who that is.
On a completely unrelated note, Counterpost is now the largest free company on Sargentanis. A development team would like to congratulate them on their contributions to Eorzea.
There you go.
Oh, okay, so some certain ne'er-do-wells are being banned from the game. What a shock.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy.
Number 12.
Number 12.
Cross-server friends list. In addition to our cross-server party finder, we will be linking all accounts to an all-encompassing platform that will allow you to add your friends from other servers to your friends list.
Hey, that sounds pretty awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, this will allow you to send them messages in real time and receive messages you can read at your convenience.
That's great.
You'll need to link your Square Enix account, MogStation account, FF14 account, and FF11 account where applicable. The new platform will be handling this as well as a slew of new features such as updates on Play Online. Please look forward to it.
Number 13.
Number 13.
We are adding support for polyamorous marriages.
Oh, that's great.
Oh.
I'm sure some people would want that.
Really?
Yay, Mormons.
Yeah, I mean, no, there are people that just have that lifestyle. No judgment. No judgment for me.
No judgment for the RPers.
Good judgment from me.
Support for polyamorous marriages. So literally everyone on Balmung.
All right, and
but it's only Balmung only.
Yeah,
Balmung only. There you go.
Number 14.
Number 14.
Reducing ability bloat and DOT ticks.
Oh.
In order to reduce the number of abilities that players have to press during combat, we're removing fracture. Regarding DOT abilities, the tick system was unintuitive to some players, such as relic holders. As such, once a player has inflicted a .dot on a monster, a player will now have to hit an ability called perpetual damage that will cause all dot effects to do damage.
Oh.
This new ability can only be activated once every 3 seconds. However, to ensure that all players will still have buttons to press with the loss of fracture, character auto attacks will be replaced with an ability called manual attack, and must be used in lieu of your character actually attacking automatically.
Oh.
For balance purposes, casters must now draw runes with their mouse or controller for each spell they cast. With these new changes, Dragoon pets have been made uncombative. Dragoon damage remains unchanged.
In 1.0, you actually did have to click manual attack.
Yeah, wasn't that a great idea?
No.
Right.
You had light attack and heavy attack.
You had to manually block, too, with your shield. I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
So there you go. There's 14 features that are totally not coming to FF14.
Unconfirmed.
Totally unconfirmed.
Totally unconfirmed.
Totally.
You got to use totally. If you use totally at least twice, it becomes a BuzzFeed title.
It becomes very good.
Yeah. All right, let's check out what's going on in the FFFL.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to your Week 5 update in the Final Fantasy Feast League. Last week saw some of our best matchups of the season, with games going right down to the wire. Speaking of the wire, it was a pretty quiet week after the flurry of activity the past couple weeks on the waiver wire. The Avengers and Verminion Lords continued to make weekly changes, as Callow took Aldo for Saj, and Juxta dropped Setzer to pick up the Marmots he didn't slay in 1.0 as part of the Special Marmot Defense Force. Yes, specifically those Marmots. In our first matchup, Titan's Banana Hammock continue to play tough at home, routing the Red Wings in the Naval. The win moves them to 4-1 and into second place in the Eastern Division, while the Red Wings fall to 0-5.
I haven't won a single game yet?
You have not yet won a game.
I'm running a perfect record.
That's correct.
Next. Kidding. Obviously.
The Melusine Marauders move to 2-3 as they march into Quarry Mill and get the job done against Beambo USA. The beat goes on for Beambo as they fall to 0-5. And for those wondering, yes, just like the Chocobos and the Super Senpai Megaforce, the Red Wings do play Beambo USA in Week 12 of the season.
Like the toilet bowl.
That's awesome.
Speaking of the Super Senpai Megaforce, the Rich get richer this week as they handily defeat El Negro Grande. They advance to 5-0 on the season, while El Negro Grande now sits at 1-4.
That's racist.
It's very true. Another tight match for the Edelweiss Avengers as they pull out a narrow win against the Verminion Lords, sponsored by Bud Light. No joke there, they just sponsor everybody. It was a match that was probably closer than it should have been, seeing as the Verminion Lords were playing man down. Inexplicably, the Marmots that Juxta did not slay in 1.0 as part of the Special Marmot Defense Force, yes, specifically those Marmots, did not show up to the field. We've tried to reach them for comment, but there has been no response. The Verminion Lords fall to 2-3, while the Avengers go to 4-1. Juxta, do you want to comment on those Marmots not showing up?
No comment on them. They're probably going to get dropped because of their poor team performance, I must say.
Juxta, did you finish the job finally?
Don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. And lastly, in one of the all-time bonehead choke jobs, in a match that sparked your dreams of fame and glory only to trip at the finish line, the Detroit Lions, or the Balam T-Rexars, fall to the Chocobos. It was a close match that saw... You know what? I can't do this. Cut the music. Cut it. I can't do this.
What?
No.
He's not even ready for this.
Nika,
What?
Nika, I need to have a little talk with you, GM to GM, right now. So here's the thing. The league's all about sportsmanship, and I get that. And I went into this week, you guys have been a juggernaut all season. I'm going on the road. The missing member is a very tough place for any male character to play. I get that. I didn't have great expectations to come in and win, which is why it was so shocking to me on Saturday morning when my team was inexplicably leading.
And 2%. That's not inexplicably.
Okay, I was expecting to lose by like 40. So it was more amazing to me when I got off work that night with 2 hours left in the poll, and I was still leading. And even more inexplicable when I was at Buffalo Wild Wings watching CM Punk get his ass handed to him by Mickey Gall with 50 minutes left that I was still leading. So I then wake up this morning to find out that not only did I lose, I lost by 8 votes. Which
actually,
means
I did pull ahead in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Ahead again.
Who exactly was it? Who did you grovel to? Who did you beg?
The voters just saw the appeal in the strong women of Final Fantasy. That is what I'm trying to make here with the women. Women can do what men can do.
Yeah, in the last 50 minutes, they all just thought, you know what? Women's rights are great. I'm going to show up and vote for the Chickabos here.
Oh, you guys are killing me. You guys are killing me. I have a drop right for this smart. It's perfect. Oh, come on.
So I just want to know, was it family? Do you family to do it?
My family doesn't have Twitters.
I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering. You in those last 50 minutes convinced 8 people to go vote for you. I'm curious who it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
I'm telling you, it was actually. I'm going to be truly honest with this. Is that there were people that hadn't heard of the FFFL, and I said, "Hey, my whole podcast does this thing of Final Fantasy characters. You'd love this." They're like, "Hey, link me to the blog." So I did, and they're like, "This is so cool. I'm going to vote next week too." I'm like, "Yeah."
I would just like to go ahead and I don't know if we have the audio available, but if we do, can we pull the audio of the end of last season of Nika saying, and I quote, "This whole event is stupid."
Actually, I'll tell you the only reason I care is because I really want to face Serena.
Because you're 5-0. Yeah, you really care because you're winning. That's what it is.
There's something to that. Once I realized that I was kicking all of your asses in Pokemon Go, I was like, that's it. I'm going to be a Pokemon master. Especially when I saw how angry it made all of you.
And I'm telling you, the reason I'm winning is because of the strong women. You can't go wrong.
Either that or you got those kids voting for you in your
Nika,
class.
yeah, that's what I think it is.
She's getting her kindergartners to go on Twitter and vote.
I think directing
the
kids.
Kindergartners do play Pokemon Go.
I'm just saying that directing kids to any part of the show would probably not be a good idea.
I very clearly make sure, I don't even bring my LBR bag to school anymore. I make sure not to wear, even on work days. I'm like, I shouldn't wear this in case a student is here and reads it. And looks at
Yeah, that's probably
I
smart.
make sure on purpose.
That's probably smart because we say a lot of dumb shit on this program.
You might not want to tell your friends about that.
All right, bring the music back up. I'm ready to finish this up.
Oh, okay.
Oh my
God, I'm totally not even ready.
You gotta be on the ball when I'm doing this, man.
God
You don't need the music.
There
you
we
got
go.
this.
Anyway, the Balam T-Rexars fall to 2-3, while the Chickabos surge to 5-0 on their cheap win.
No, this is a close win, and I applaud you on your effort.
On the waiver wire this week, we have Setzer, Saj, Freya, Renoa, Shadow, Rosa, Cecil, Red 13, Refia, and Leon. On the waiver wire order, we'll be looking at Papa Woody, followed by Gordor, Mad Hatter, Surin, Aniro, Malkithera, Nika, Escalia, Juxta, and Callow. And our matchups for this week. First, the Melusine Marauders will travel to the Balam Garden Training Center for a match with the T-Rexars. This match will be a crucial one as they both trail Titans Banana Hammock for second in the division. Speaking of Titans Banana Hammock, they'll have their chance to avenge their only loss on the season as they prepare the naval and welcome in the Chickabos. Beambo USA heads back on the road again this week as they travel to the Rogues Den Fight Club for a match with the Edelweiss Avengers. Since losing in Week 1, the Avengers have been on a tear, winning 4 straight. The Super Senpai Megaforce is gearing up for their trip to the Gold Saucer as they take on the Verminion Lords this week.
Oh, not again. Shit.
What moves will we see of the Verminion Lords this week to try and fill their now vacant roster slot? And lastly, El Negro Grande hits the road this week, traveling down to Castle Baron for a match with the Red Wings. We were able to secure a comment from the Red Wings' remaining fan base. They both said they'll be at the game, but they're expecting a strong turnout from their opposition. And that's what's going on in the FFFL this week, guys. Remember, tune in to LimitBreakRadio.com this Tuesday Tuesday for your update.
That's right. And voting goes down on Twitter, so make sure that you're following at Limit Break Radio when those polls go out. And you can vote for your favorites. And and that's how we decide the winners here. So, again, that's twitter.com/Limit
grovels
Break Radio.
the hardest wins.
Apparently.
That's the Callow special right there.
God,
Let me tell you
Isn't
something.
it ever? Oh my God.
The last hour surge of 40 votes.
Man,
Nika, you got Callow to do it for you, didn't he?
What? No,
paid
actually,
Callow.
was actually what I noticed. I was looking at the total amount of votes, and Callow still had more votes than ours. So he's campaigning something fierce for sure.
I don't know why he doesn't show up to this goddamn show. God damn it. All right. We got to read some emails. We've got about
10,000 of them.
We've got a half an hour left, and that's, we can probably get through a few of them. So, who wants to take this first one here? Anyone? No
Someone.
one?
I just read a lot.
Okay. I guess.
I'll do it. I'll do
okay.
it. All right, guys, first off, I really enjoy the show. I stopped playing 14 after beating T5 Coil in early 2014, I believe, but have been listening to your show every week since I have a fairly hefty daily commute. I could not be less enthused about the direction FF14 has gone, yet I still find myself listening to your podcast as, funnily enough, I've come to really look forward to hearing your familiar voices and daydreaming about having an MMO I actually look forward to playing.
This guy has listened to our show for 2 years after quitting the game.
I'm just saying, we have a whole nother show about video games. It's called Final Encounter Cast.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Check it out, maybe.
Check it out.
All right, check it out. On to my
me out,
question. Will we ever see another MMO similar to 11?
No.
Why am I reading this one?
Yes.
I was an 11 no-lifer back in the early 2000s when I was in high school and college, and I'm still fondly looking back at those years as my most fun, from a gaming perspective at least. I certainly understand that not everyone was thrilled with the amount of time commitment required in 11, but I can't fathom 11 being anywhere near as fun as it was without the challenge/time sink/community. I recently started listening to your old FF11 LBR podcast and have been having an absolute blast hearing about some parts of the game I didn't even get the chance to participate in, like salvage. Listening to these podcasts has given me some mixed feelings, however, as it is a fairly depressing reality to face that there may never be another MMO experience akin to 11 ever again. Something I found interesting listening to your podcast was how casually you all went through the game. Not me. Sometimes only playing a few times a week and mostly on the weekends. Shit, it took a few of you upwards of 3 years to get to 75. This got me thinking, if 11 were released today and everything was held constant except the fact that I now have 50+ hour a week jobs, would I still be that interested in the game? The answer is yes, although I can't say you actually know that. My God, how awesome would it be to have a game that requires years of time commitment, and I'm not kidding. Am I wrong to assume that there is still a large enough gaming audience that actually yearns for a challenging game environment to immerse itself in for years on end? Frankly, a large part of the reason I haven't come back to 14 is the fact that I can come back at any time and be caught up on everything and progressing in a top-tier rating environment inside a month or two. My goal with this email wasn't to start another discussion about why or why not 14 is falling deeper and deeper into the abyss, but rather to explore whether there is still a population of gamers that want a slower, less flashy, legitimately difficult, story-driven MMO that encourages a real community again. Whenever I have tried to start up 14 or even consider giving WoW another shot, I constantly find myself trying to grind as fast as possible to endgame. Why? Because the game itself is unbearably easy and there is no community until the endgame, if you can even call that a community. Why is the MMO developer community focusing on catering to the pleb/teenagers that want instant gratification in a game where they can literally see every bit of content with ease? Part of why 11 was so fun for me was that a lot of the legitimate endgame was shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, that's a good point.
FF11 is a perfect example of an MMO with a small population that remained profitable for SE for years upon years. Why are no other companies trying to occupy this space? Why is every company looking for ways to compete with WoW and flaming out / becoming F2 free-to-play instead of finding a comfortable niche at a lower and profitable tier? Maybe I'm just stuck in my cranky old man 28-year-old ways, but I desperately want a game that I can sink my teeth into and know that my hard work and dedication is actually worth something and will continue to be worth something for years to come. Sorry for the long email, but thank you again for producing such a great podcast. It saddens me, however, that I'm getting more entertainment value out of your 10-plus-year-old FF11 podcast because of the content, but it is what it is, I suppose. All the best, Nick. Or Enos, a 75 FF11 Ninja Ranger, Samurai, Paladin, Bard, and Beastmaster.
Thank you, Nick, for that email. And here's what... Yeah, I do think that kind of game is gone. And I don't think that we're going to get it back.
But I mean, he says he's like, am I the only one who still wants
you're not. You're not the only one.
We did have this conversation an hour ago on the show that I think that the general majority of people who are like the main gaming audience is 28 years old or 30s, and they have jobs. They don't have that much time. And while you say you'd be interested in that, if you have a 50+ hour work week and 11 was released now, I don't know if you can say with 100% certainty that you would be just as into it as you were back then.
Now, here's the thing. Okay, I think that that it's possible to still make that game, and I think that it's still possible for that game to succeed. But what I don't see is the will from a company large enough to pull it off. Because what you need an IP that's strong enough that hooks people enough that makes them want to play and keep playing and keep adding to that world. Again, I talked about this with WildStar. There's no reason to play WildStar unless you were already an MMO player, right? Yeah. Like, it would take a game like WoW or Final Fantasy or Elder Scrolls Online to change up the formula and to make a decision that was not driven by what they're driven by now, which is the bottom line, making profit. And so they look to each other, the successes and failures in the market, to be able to suss that out. Whether that's a good idea or a bad idea in the end is still remains to be seen, because we're in the second era of MMOs. We've seen a lot of second era MMOs fail miserably. This one is hanging on. But I think that this, specifically FF14, is a testing ground for that particular idea, or at least could be a testing ground for that particular idea, where can you have an MMO that still presents a large challenge on that level. You have to do that with either a game that has an established community or following, like one that has a strong IP, or it's not going to get done. You're not going to attract an audience for a long enough time to be able to get that done. You need to have the overhead to float the game's failure before it becomes a success. There is no MMO that is a success out of the gate. It starts with a lot of interest. You look at Blade and Soul, look at Black Desert Online. Starts with a lot of interest, and then you get a huge fall off in the third month. Yep. That has been the trend. And what you need is a company who can float it through that third, that fourth, that fifth, that sixth month.
And you need the IP. You need the IP attached to it. 11
you need the
would
IP
not have
and
survived without Final Fantasy on the front
Exactly.
of it.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's exactly it. So you've got those two very important factors that rub up against each other, because you've got corporate sitting there saying, well, this is a Final Fantasy title. We want to maximize its success, and we want to make sure that we're bringing people in on this service. Because, I mean, I'm sure that Yoshi P had to do some pretty big convincing internally to keep that game a subscription model, and not just send it out there with a ton of microtransactions to try to maximize the profit. I mean, you've got to understand that, for as many of as bad decisions that we saddle Yoshi P with, he's also trying to balance the expectations, not just of us, but of the company as well.
It is weird to have to step back and remember that at the end of the day, there's a board of directors he answers to. If they're not happy, the game's changing.
That's exactly it. Yep. And if he's not willing to do it, they'll fire him and find someone who is. We saw that with Tanaka. Mm-hmm. So,
Tanaka also failed, though.
Did he? I mean,
the game wasn't making any money.
Yeah, but the game was also pushed out way ahead of schedule.
They don't care about that.
But corporate set a release date, said, fuck you, you've got to meet the release date, and it was half done.
Right.
I mean, the product wasn't even fully there yet. I don't know that Tanaka deserves as much of the blame as he got for 1.0.
I'm sure he doesn't, but the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, he did fail. Was it because the corporation basically sabotaged him? I mean, that's a debate.
That's here or there.
Is the failure on his shoulders or not? Who knows? The failure, at the end of the day, lies at his feet.
Yeah.
He has to live with it.
And the same thing can be said for Yoshi P now.
Right.
Although I wouldn't say Yoshi has failed yet. I mean, they're still making money on this game.
Right.
as lackluster as it is.
Yeah, that's
Tanaka can't say that.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Again, thanks for the email. We appreciate it. Let's take this.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Well, it's nice and short.
All right.
Hi, LBR folks. Just wanted to send a message to thank you to all the support. Wow, fuck my life.
Man, good thing it's a short email.
Wow.
Just wanted
Jumps
to
in to take the email, then slaughters it.
Can we we should go through this and rearrange some of the words for him.
Just wanted to send a message to thank you for that awesome proper send off to episode of Final Fantasy XI. It was great on so many levels. All those old references and bits, and the legendary Aniro bagpipes. It was like being warped back in time for a few hours, a reminder of how deep Vana'diel's roots had grown. Won't lie, my heart was in my throat a few times. Bittersweet indeed. I hate that I couldn't be there to join in live. Also, Tom too. I hope he comes around more often. Miss that guy. Oh, and that talk at the end of Nero, that was awesome. Powerful stuff.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone who wouldn't be rooting for you all after that is dead inside. Again, thank you sincerely for that. A wonderful surprise and a great show. I know I'll be listening to it again. So until next time, all the best and stay awesome. /salute, Shari of Pandemonium, aka Mitovo.
Well, thank you for that email. We appreciate it. And yeah, that was a fun show. That we didn't know really how that would go. And we knew that a lot of people were going to be surprised when we flipped it over to Vana'diel. But I still think that the reaction to the old 11 intro from the chat room was maybe one of my favorite moments that I've ever had on a live stream.
I've never seen our chat go ballistic like that.
I know, it was so funny.
Oh God, the new intro comments were the best.
That was so funny.
Thank you guys for saying that.
Yeah, no, too funny.
This next one here says, "Hello guys, Nika, you get no respect because of Skuro. I think it's
still on that.
Nope. I think it's about time to give Papa Woody the mic until Callow proves himself again."
Well, we do. He's sitting
right there.
He's on
No,
it.
but I think that they're also saying because Callow hasn't proven himself, when Callow comes back,
He doesn't
Papa
get
gets
the mic.
Oh.
And Papa should be able to just shitlord over him for an episode. Just a thought that might be fun. Later, taters. Sent with love, Evil Hippie. P.S. Nika will only earn my respect again if she berates Skuro live on the air.
I have done that multiple times.
You gotta do it hard.
Just because I quoted him once, now I've lost all respect.
Well, you've got to balance the scales, Nika. You've got to balance the scales. It's out of whack. It's out of balance. You paid him a compliment, and then because you know that shit gets to his head, you've then got
Jesus Christ, how many times do I have to apologize for that?
You got to cut him down right after that. You can't. You can't let him think that he's people. Okay. All right, let's take our next email. This is from Kari. Hello, LBR. I'm a bit of a fan of alternate history. And there's times when I look at parts of the story in Final Fantasy XIV and wonder what would have happened if things turned out a little bit differently. Which is interesting that they mentioned that, because that's one of the things that Yoshi P had mentioned was under, it was
for Xander.
It was a thought. Yeah.
Are you Yoshi P?
Dun 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 dun. Here's two of my favorites. One, what if the Warriors of Light joined Ysael's rebellion against Ishgard back in 2.4? Would the Scions disavow you? Would you work with Vishap at the Steps of Faith instead of defending Ishgard? Or would that be the point where the Warrior of Light returns to the Scions? I've been meaning to write a fanfic based on this. And then two, when Nabrialis kidnapped Minfilia, what was his plan for her? I often wonder what would have happened if she was taken as a host for an Ascian.
If you go,
if we failed the Chrysalis.
Yeah.
If you go online, I'm sure you can find tons of scenarios playing out after Nabrialis takes Minfilia hostage. I'm sure you can get all kinds of material on that.
Do you guys have any parts of the story where you wonder how it could have changed if something went differently? Thanks for all the fun. And that's from Kari Alkanashi from the Goblin server. Thank you for that email. I don't know. I don't think that that's something that I've ever really considered.
What if something had played out differently?
Yeah.
What if during 2.55, during the Sultana cutscene, the Warrior of Light doesn't hold back and he just murders all of the Ul'dan soldiers, and then becomes an actual outlaw.
Okay.
Actually, I always wonder, like, in that similar situation, like, what if Merle Wibb and Kane Senna had actually done something?
Yeah, what if they hadn't pushed out and left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they were behind it.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, Valkyria, what if Harshaphon didn't die? Get away. No, stop.
He'd just be
Don't
giving
even
you
play
hot
with my heart. Don't.
He would just be giving you hot chocolate. There's nothing special about
Yeah,
that.
that's the thing is that...
Isn't there?
You know, again, Harshaphon's kind of like the Kurt Cobain of Final Fantasy XIV. He's most notable for dying.
Yeah, but like if Kurt Cobain was still alive, we wouldn't have the Foo Fighters. What the fuck's up with that?
Well, yeah, you're kind of right. I'm not saying that Kurt Cobain didn't contribute anything. I'm just saying the thing that he's most famous for is blowing his own head off with a shotgun.
What if the Warrior of Light allied with the Crystal Braves?
Oh,
during the
But why would that have happened?
Why wouldn't have happened? You know what?
Algernon, you screwed it up. I'm joining the other team.
I've been working with these Scions forever, and I have gotten paid for shit. I'm gonna be a mercenary. I'm gonna make fucking bank because who are these assholes they can't stop me.
Really greedy Warrior of Light. I love it.
Actually, the biggest what if I wonder, though, is like back in 1.0, if the story hadn't changed and I still had my Mikote companion, what would she be like today?
I've always really kind of wanted a chance to join up with the Garleans because they make some good points.
The Garleans were right.
The Warrior of Light just joins the Garleans.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you'd have an entirely different game from another point of view.
Yeah, you could hang out the Warriors of Darkness.
Not that hard. I mean, come on. That's just like a few copy and paste, just figure it out.
When would you defect to the Garleans, though? Because that would have a pretty big impact. If you defected right at the start of the game, you're just a small nobody or whatever. But if you defect with Gaius at the very end, you're Gaius's right hand.
Can you imagine if you defected now?
I think that would be kind of cool. Like if you could at some point join up with the Garleans. Yeah. That
They
would
probably don't have enough staff to create that much different storylines, though.
No,
So,
you're not wrong.
I know it would be weird, but yeah,
that'd be awesome though.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
It would require a lot of thought and development, though, to have like 3 or 4 different ways that the Warrior of Light could play out, and I just think that'd be really difficult.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of development. That's a lot. There's a lot involved with that, but
It would be interesting, though.
I think it would be really
but it
cool.
wouldn't be FF14. It would be a whole different MMO.
You're right. I mean, but that would be cool as a concept for an MMO. But here's the thing. As cool as that concept is, and I just kind of want to tie this back to the original point. As cool as that concept is, without a name like Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls, that's kind of a cool concept, but yeah, I'm not spending the $40 to get in or the $60 to get in. Again, that goes back to the whole WildStar thing. Like, there was nothing at WildStar that hooked me in there to begin with. Why would I have played it to begin with? Oh, because it's got some good mechanical design? That's cool.
Steampunk cartoon. What more do you need?
Look, that's gonna be fine for some fucking people, but it's just not gonna do it for me. But again, as far as cool as a multiple arching storyline is, or a dynamic storyline is as a concept for an MMO, if it doesn't have that hook in there, I just don't know that it succeeds. Look at Star Wars. Look at Star Wars: The Old Republic. Again, I think if they had set the Old Republic not in the Old Republic, but actually in something that was a little bit more relevant to the movies that are coming out now.
Oh yeah, like post-Galactic Civil War.
Yeah, it would have really driven a whole lot more interest in it. And I mean, granted, I know I'm just saying make Star Wars Galaxies again, but
yeah, that was the problem. It's like they literally already had an MMO in that time period. Well,
but it wasn't.
Darth Vader was still alive in that one, so that was during the Civil War.
But it wasn't very good. Is the problem?
Oh, you'd have a lot of people who disagree. Galaxies survived for a long time.
It did, but
I've never even heard of that until just now. So clearly, there's something wrong about it.
But it had some very fundamental problems with the game, and also would not have been one that you would have been able to continue because of the framework that it had.
Yeah, it definitely, when it died, it was kind of because it was at the end of its life cycle.
It was one of those, you go back to FF11 now, and clearly that game does show its age, but it's not quite as clunky as older games from that period can be, right?
Galaxies would be, yeah.
Galaxies would not have you would not be able to say the same thing if you tried to play that.
But you look at it and like it did live 8-9 years on a
Absolutely.
sub model. It did great.
Yeah, it did fine. All right, let's go on to the next email here.
Sure. I'm really disappointed in the fact that Zelphatal is being relegated to a dungeon, and I feel like a lot of the people discussing this are actually underplaying the implications. People have compared this to making the Salt Moors and Keeper of the Lake a dungeon. That is not actually an apt comparison. Take a look at an annotated map of Eorzea. The Salt Moors and Keeper of the Lake are locations, points of interest on the map. Zelphatal is an entire continental region.
It's a region, yeah.
A more apt comparison would be if Dravanya had been a dungeon instead of consisting of the lowlands, hinterlands, Churning Mist, Idleshire, 4 dungeons, and a raid.
That is exactly what I was getting at, was that it felt like Zelphatal would have been 2 zones to cover that entire region.
Okay, well, just because it's going to be a dungeon doesn't mean it's not also going to be a zone. Like, just because they call it Zelphatal doesn't mean that it's not actually going to be like Zelphatal, the caves of Garuda's ballsack or something.
Well, and actually, Juxta, I thought you brought up a good point the last time that we had talked about this, is that is a very mountainous region anyway, and there's probably there's kind of limited stuff that you could do with an environment like that.
Exactly. That's exactly the point I made.
So
was that not you? Did you not make that? I thought you made that point.
I totally made that point.
Okay.
Strong Scalia.
Nothing. So it's a bummer that Zelphatal is just a single dungeon, but also potentially intriguing. Everyone assumes the expansion will center around Alamigo, but without Zelphatal, all we are left with is Yerabanya. Where else could we be going? Based on previous comments from Yoshi P, as well as the FF10 themed items related to FanFest, C seems like our common clue. Perhaps we'll be going to the Sea of Jade. I don't know how to pronounce it. Pagelthon?
Pagelthon?
The Amalja homeland, or the islands in between. Torquil Rather Dashing of Belmont.
Thanks for that email, Torquil.
Interesting thought.
It is an interesting thought, and
What a swerve.
Yeah, I really, really hope that you're right, though, that having Zelphatal as a dungeon is not indicative that will cover that entire region of the map. But I don't think that leaves me with a whole lot of confidence that we're going to be seeing much from that.
But now that I'm looking at this map that he linked, Zelphatal is right above Gridania, which is right above Alamigo. So if we actually are going to Alamigo, this dungeon, like, since we know the Dragonsong War is over and we're leading into the next expansion, this dungeon could kind of be the key way into Zelphatal, which will lead to Alamigo.
You know what? What if Square Enix throws a curveball and this dungeon is actually kind of like the gatekeeper, and then they're going to release a Zelphatal zone before the expansion hits?
I would be shocked.
Exactly what I just said.
That would blow my mind.
I'll put $50 on it. That does not happen.
Yeah, there's no way.
Not the way this shit's going down
looking
lately.
at the map, though, it looks like it would, doesn't it?
It does look like you would have
Zelphatal in the first update after the Dragonsong War has ended, and that you have to go through Zelphatal to get to Alamigo.
a new region and a patch. I'd lose my mind.
No,
I can't see it happening.
No. I think it's a hint.
Now, hang on.
Technically, they did it with Diadem.
Hang on. And in the 2.0, they did add Ninja. So if they're not adding a new job at some point, maybe it's not completely inconceivable that could happen.
They also added Gold Saucer and Wolf's Den.
Get the fuck out.
Gold Saucer was an entirely new area, though.
Yeah, you're right. It was. Interesting.
And all the housing stuff. Man, they added a whole bunch of zones.
I doubt it, but you know what? That would be a badass move if they did it.
Wouldn't rule it out.
Oh no, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's highly unlikely. But
let me dream.
But if they did it, it would be a badass move. It would be a great move.
But it doesn't mean also that we won't get a Zelphatal zone in the expansion as well. Like, this could just be the kind of hint that we're going to get it.
Yeah, you're right.
In 4.0.
Yeah, you're right.
Get it early.
All right, who wants to take? This is going to be our last email today. This is from Revan Capelli. Who wants to take this one?
I guess I'll do it since Scully just read a bunch. All right. Hello, LBR. Revan Capelli of Sarkatanis here. I just wanted to share a quick thought about an email read on episode 77. You guys were talking about horizontal progression and gear swapping during battle and whether or not it could work in 14. I understand why they decided to can this idea, since 1, the amount of gear you had to carry in 11 was absolutely ridiculous, and 2, it also seems really silly to take time in the middle of combat to change your entire outfit. Yeah, it does. I think there would be a couple different ways to use this idea while avoiding those two issues. One idea is to allow swapping during combat, but discourage it with some type of penalty. For example, look at the Berserk ability and the pacification debuff it gives you, where you can't attack for 5 seconds. I think swapping one piece of gear takes one global cooldown seems fair. What do you guys think? Also, didn't 1.8 have that? I feel like it did. You could change gear in battle, but it would like put all your abilities on reset or something.
I don't
feel
remember
like it
that.
did.
That does not sound even remotely familiar to me.
I swear to God, it did. Anyway, my second idea is to rework the materia system to work more like it did in FF7. What if instead of materia slots on every piece of gear based on level, there were only materia slots on weapons and possibly accessories too? Also, instead of requiring a skilled crafter to meld materia and possibly fail, they would be easily changeable on the fly and never consumed in the process. This would also solve the gear inventory problem since materia stacks, and swapping stats via materia swapping doesn't change your character's look. Give more materia slots to rarer gear, allow swapping during combat as stated above, and this allows for more strategic combat as well as some variation between players.
That's an interesting suggestion.
Yeah, they'd have to make materia interesting though.
Yeah, I mean that's a third overhaul of the materia system that I just don't know that we'd ever see, and it's kind of disappointing because I feel like if they had thought about it a little bit more, that they could have come up with something like that. And I like that idea much more than what we have currently for materia.
Yeah, it is a lot of thought though, because the original reason in 11 for switching gear was that different weapon skills required different stats, or that a certain piece of gear would like enhance a certain ability, like third eye or meditate would get more, whatever. So like they would have to actually have materia that would affect abilities, which then in turn would affect like the entire balance of the game.
And your auto attack was based on your attack skill versus, some weapon skills were based off of modifiers in the vit or in strength or in dex, and you kind of had to go out of your way to be able to tell which one it was. And that was part of the reason for having gear swapping in FF11. But again, it was such an interesting part of the game that made gear really, really attractive. It made gear that was like out of the way really attractive, and it made doing events that were out of their way really, really attractive. And
you gotta get these gloves because they have minus 10% spell casting speed, which I'll use in every single macro.
Well, and you knew when someone was properly macroing for their weapon skills. Like if you had two dragoons next to each other, one of them would do 1,000 damage more.
Yeah,
like you could really affect your damage with it.
Yeah, and I understand why they wanted to move away from that, but I think that it was an interesting concept that they could attempt to revisit, but they'd have to rework so much to be able to do that that I don't see that being a viable option for on the development side of that.
Not at this point, no.
Yeah, not at this point, but I do think that those are some great suggestions. And boy, I really wish that was what we had versus what we had gotten with this most recent materia overhaul. Because I mean, I gotta say, for the materia overhaul, quote unquote, it really didn't overhaul the system all that much. It just gave us materia slots on gear that wouldn't have otherwise had materia slots on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm kind of curious, like, where's the second part of this overhaul that we're supposed to see?
Please look forward to it.
I don't want anything to do with materia.
Yeah, I'm sick of materia. Who cares?
All right.
It just ended up as I said it would be. It's just something to make your gear worse until you can go back to town and get your materia.
Kinda, yeah.
Juxa called it.
And it's in its predisposition, like what you want to put on it, because
there's not really any choice.
There's 3 stats.
Yeah.
There's 3 stats that are relevant to you at all, and maybe a 4th one that might be halfway relevant if you're, I don't know.
And let's be honest, you just want crit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Called it.
Ballin'.
All right, guys, that's going to do it here for Limit Break Radio for this week. I want to thank you for all of your calls and all of your emails. God, we've got still so many emails in here, and some really long ones, too. We're going to try to make time to get to those on future shows. But, I want to thank you for sending those. Hosts at limitbreakradio.com is where you can send all of those emails. Limitbreakradio.com is where you can subscribe to the podcast. Please head on over there. Use use whatever podcast program that you use for everything else, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. You can head on over to limitbreakradio.com and subscribe to the feed. Leave us a little bit of iTunes love. It helps other people find the show. We want other people to find the show. So leave us a review, whether you like the show or not. That's kind of immaterial. Just go and toss us a little bit of a review.
We really need it because we're a failing podcast.
That's right. You can do that on the LBR podcast feed, which includes our other show, Final Encountercast, which we're getting ready for. That's live over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast at 5. Join us for that. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of really interesting stuff, including whether or not consoles are even still relevant. Sony announcing the new skinnier version of the PlayStation 4, and it makes you kind of wonder, like, how much longer can we be doing this, and why am I just not playing on my PC right now? So we're going to talk about that. We hope that you join us. You can call the show live. That happens over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. But you can also leave a little bit of iTunes love for Limit Break Radio as well. You can find our full feed as well as our FF14 specific feed. Just search Limit Break Radio. Find us on Twitter. That's at Limit Break Radio. And of course, we've got the awesome subreddit that's being run by our fans. That's at our Limit Break Radio. Subscribe to that because it's super awesome. We want to thank our fans for running that for us. Just one less thing that we have to worry about.
It's nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
So that's going to do it. I want to thank my crew. We've got Kooky Persona, who's been hanging out answering your calls, as well as Papa Woody hanging out in the background filling in for Kahlo. And I want to thank, of course, my co-hosts, Juxtaposition, Escalia Rayumasa, and Nika Kayanian. I'm Nero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Aniro Grigori, Kahlo Landis, Juxtaposition, Escalia Rayumasa, and Kooky Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Captain Failboat, Zurian Urexin, Azura Giacho, Bianca Forwin, Kalina Ashsaber, Thor Carson, My Waifu, Satori Komeji, Darbykins, Sakura-chan, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content. Thanks.